Chapter 5591. Venerable Peach Blossom couldn't help but roll his eyes at him. He didn't expect Dunja to have such high standards. He actually said that eldest Chin's suave and elegant appearance was alright. Back then, Dunja's body didn't even have 1/10 of eldest Chin's elegance. High standards and all kinds of troublesome things. No wonder Jojo wanted to beat him up. He was asking for it on the other side. Arbor couldn't be bothered with Dunja. She walked over to Zhao Guzi and the others and shouted impatiently, "Why aren't you doing anything? If you can't do it, I'll find someone to help you." Zhao Guzi's face was ashen. He naturally heard the conversation between Arbor and the others just now. These people actually said that they wanted to take over his body as if there was no one else around? Wasn't this a little too much? What was even more outrageous was that the little old man with the wretched gaze actually looked down on his body. Who was he showing that disdainful expression for? Chiyo, help him. The moment Arbor's voice landed, a vine as thick as an arm slid out from her sleeve. It suddenly probed into the barrier. Zhao Guzi turned pale with fright. He hurriedly raised his wrist, and the sharp tip of his dagger pierced towards that vine. In the blink of an eye, the vine swiftly wrapped around his arm and shook lightly. The dagger in Zhao Guzi's hand was thrown out with a thud. That vine was very energetic. It swayed proudly in front of Zhao Guzi. Then, it swept up the dagger on the ground and slashed towards Zhao Guzi's arm. Zhao Guzi took a deep breath and hurriedly created a divine armor on his left arm to protect himself. When the knife landed on the vine branch, it bounced back with a dang sound. Immediately, it shook its branch unhappily, swaying and swaying. With a pa-pa sound, it slapped Zhao Guzi's face. "Little guy, you still want to pretend in front of Lord Holywood." In Chiyo's anger, the vine that was originally as thick as a wrist suddenly split into 4 or 5 branches. With whooshing sounds, it quickly wrapped around Zhao Guzi's body and arm and tore them apart tightly. Zhao Guzi felt an incomparable pain all over his body, and his eyes were filled with fear. What kind of vine was this? It was actually so intelligent that it could attack others at will without the control of its master? Xiao Mu ordered, "Chiyo, stop playing with him." Chiyo immediately rolled up his dagger and chopped down at Zhao Guzi's arm again. At this moment, Zhao Guzi's entire body was entangled by the vines, and he was unable to resist at all. He could only watch as the dagger fell, and he couldn't help but cry out in alarm, "Madam, please stop. I am willing to pay the price. I am willing to serve. After a miserable shriek, Zhao Guzi's eyes widened. An arm fell to the ground, and the crowd of people from the sanctuary, who had been watching the commotion, cried out in surprise. This young madam was too ruthless. He really didn't give them any room for negotiation. He chopped off the arm just like that and didn't even discuss it with them. Arbor stared coldly at Zhao Guzi. After Chiyo chopped off that person's leg, she just coldly stared at the dying man lying in a pool of blood. Li Lan was already trembling with fear. With a plop, she knelt on the ground. She didn't care about her face or her dignity anymore and repeatedly kowtowed to Arbor, saying, "It's not my fault. Madam, please let me go. I was instigated by others and was blinded for a moment. That's why I did this. I won't dare to do it again. Madam, please forgive me." Chapter 5592. Ma Weixian was completely scared out of his wits. He immediately felt that the wound on his broken arm that had been healed for many years was starting to hurt. He had only heard of the little madam's vicious means before. Now that he had seen her use it on his companion, he knew that this woman was really a malefic star that should not be provoked. Whoever provoked her would have 8 lifetimes of bad luck. There was no room for regret. Arbor looked at Li Lan coldly and stared at her. Then she turned to look at Ma Weixian. Ma Weixian quickly followed Li Lan's example and knelt down. He clenched his fists and said, "Please spare our lives, madam." Arbor looked at the two of them and said, "Hand over a strand of your life soul. I'll think about it." Li Lan and Ma Weixian both trembled and looked at her in disbelief. This little madam's face was really cold. It seemed that she was not joking at all. However, in the sanctuary, All of them were reputable figures. Handing over their life souls was almost equivalent to giving up their self-esteem and being willing to be slaves or maids. Lilan immediately took out a strand of her life soul and handed it over. Nothing was more important than one's life. Ma Weixian hesitated for a moment and stood up. He said, "Although I'm not a hero, I still have a bottom line. Madam, if you take one of my arms and one of my legs, I swear that I won't hand over my life soul." Arbor looked at him with a faint smile and nodded slightly. "Okay, I'll respect your choice." Her tone was soft and unhurried, with a trace of unknown gentleness. However, in the ears of the others, they felt as if they were in an ice cave. They could not help but tremble slightly. "Since you've lost an arm, I'll take one of your legs as a warning to others. If I find out that you have bad intentions and want to take revenge and kidnap my son," Arbor's cold voice sounded in Ma Weixian's ears, "I'll let you live. But you die." Everyone shuddered and was momentarily at a loss for words. The young madam's voice was too cold and resolute. For a moment, other than her incomparably cold voice lingering in their minds, they couldn't hear any other sound clearly. Ma Weixian breathed a sigh of relief. At least he still had one hand that could move for the rest of his life. At first, he thought that he was going to lose both hands, so he was really worried. He glanced at Arbor with a wry smile. It couldn't be said that he didn't feel any resentment at all, but Ma Weixian's personality was just like that. Since he was the one who committed a foolish crime and was caught alive, it wasn't impossible for others to punish him. He wanted to kidnap someone's child, but his hands and feet were chopped off by the adults. He could only admit that he was unlucky. As for slowly taking revenge or something like that, he couldn't help but laugh bitterly at himself as he thought to himself, "How would I dare to think about it?" After seeing a ghost, how could he not be afraid of the dark? The young madam's methods were already so powerful, not to mention that she had so many people behind her. Although this young madam was the only one who came out to solve the problem, the men and women behind her didn't look like good people. Ma Weixian gritted his teeth and chopped off one of his legs. Lilan couldn't help but shudder. She didn't dare to cut off her own limbs. As long as there was a chance of survival, she wouldn't beg for death. "Kill him," Arbor ordered coldly. Lilan's pupils shrank, and she was so scared that she suddenly felt cold all over. However, she soon found that she had made a mistake. It turned out that the young madam's words were directed at Venerable Mulberry. Chapter 5593. Supremacy Mulberry, who had yet to speak, did not even have the time to refute before he was pressed down by several vines. A furry little fat squirrel darted out from the side and casually swiped its paw. With a soft pop, the crowd was horrified to find that Supremacy Mulberry's skull looked like a cracked coconut. "Ah!" Someone cried out in alarm. The crowd took a few steps back and looked at Arbor's group with inexplicable horror in their eyes. This seemingly harmless little fat squirrel even turned its little head and swayed its 12 little tails as it giggled. Arbor waved at it. The little fat squirrel quickly jumped into her hand. Arbor stroked its fur and coldly looked at the ashen-faced Lilan. Her expression was devoid of warmth. "From today onwards, you will be the shopkeeper of the first tower of the sanctuary. You will be provided with a certain amount of goods every day until they are sold out. You will hand over all the materials you obtain to me." Arbor looked at her coldly. "You don't have a second life for you to continue squandering, do you understand?" Lilan trembled and quickly nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Young madam was reminding her that if she was found to be a traitor, her life would be taken. "Go and put up a sign and change the rules. Provide a list of goods the next night and start selling tomorrow until all the items on the list are sold out." Once the rules were changed, the people of the sanctuary would probably curse even more. In the past, they could buy as much as they wanted without any restrictions. As long as they were in the first 100, they could buy whatever they wanted. But now, the list of ingredients, daily utensils, and the quantity provided the next night would be clearly listed. Although the quantity was not small, if they encountered a large quantity, they would basically be sold out by a dozen people. The rest of the people did not even need to line up. Therefore, the people who came to buy the goods after that were even more troublesome. Before they lined up, They had to count how many things the people in front of them wanted to buy and whether they would be the one who sold out. Therefore, not long after, the people lining up at the entrance of the first tower of the sanctuary started to line up earlier. Everyone wanted to fight for the first, second, and third seats in line. Li Lan started doing business in the first tower of the holy region. What she didn't know was that the first pagoda of the holy region was filled with demonic eyes and hidden image talisman arrays. Her every move in the building was actually recorded every day. Chio and the others would be the first to detect any abnormal movements. In this way, Yi and the others would no longer have to think about opening a shop at the first tower of the holy region to sell things. It would be so troublesome to change shifts every few days. With Li Lan, as a free laborer, Yi and the others could focus on their cultivation without worrying about anything else. Thus, Arbor led his group of friends and settled down in the eastern region. Ever since they revealed their incomparably terrifying methods and deterrence, from that day onwards, very few people came looking for trouble. No one dared to covet the resources in their pockets. What a joke! Before coveting other people's resources, one had to first see if one had the life to enjoy them. However, the sacred region's environment was really not that great. Most of the time, they would hide in the star region to practice refining pills, and drawing talismans. In their spare time, they could read books, play the zither, and chat. On this day, Master Dongfang came looking for them with a smile. Chapter 5594. Master Dongfang and Steward Li Yang came together. The two of them stopped outside the small courtyard very politely and waited at the door with a smile. Who didn't know that Madame Mo's small courtyard was like a tiger's den? Although he had some friendship with young Master Mo and Madame Mo, it was better to abide by the rules. After a while, Yi hurried over and led the two of them in. Third Fu and his wife came to receive Master Dongfang and politely asked them to sit down. "Why don't I see young Master Mo and Madame Mo today?" Master Dongfang asked with a smile. "Oh, they haven't come out of seclusion. Master Dongfang, if you have something to tell us, it's the same." The truth was that the two of them were playing happily in the herb garden with their children and couldn't be bothered to come out to deal with Master Dongfang. Master Dongfang nodded politely. "It's a big matter that concerns the East region. Please pass it on to young Master and Madam." Of course. Third Fu nodded repeatedly. Every year around this time, the East, West, North, and South regions of the Holy Region will hold a preliminary competition. Every region will choose 200 people to go to the Holy Palace together. Third Fu blinked and then laughed. "Don't joke, Master. You rarely even see houses here. How can there be a palace?" Princess Wushuang nodded and said, "Isn't everyone used to using the sky as their blanket and the earth as their table? Do you have a palace here?" Don't think that they were uncultured. Although the East, West, North, and South regions were very wide, they had traveled to all parts of the East region. Everywhere was a vast expanse of whiteness, and there was no difference between them. There shouldn't be much of a difference in the other three regions. Master Dongfang touched his nose embarrassedly. "You too misunderstood. Our holy palace will descend from the sky around this time every year. This is actually the benefit of ascending to the holy region. Every year, the heavenly Tao will send the holy palace down to the holy region. In addition to many rare treasures, it is said that there are many holy beast eggs." Dong 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 dong. The sound of the bamboo stairs suddenly sounded. Third Fu and his wife couldn't help but silently twitch the corners of their mouths. At the same time, they turned to look at the stairs and pretended to be surprised. "Ah, big brother, sister-in-law, you two are out of seclusion?" Bah! His sister-in-law must have heard about the sacred palace and couldn't hold back her curiosity. She ran out of the star domain and pretended to come down from upstairs. Lady Jojo expressionlessly walked down the stairs with small steps, trying her best to maintain a face that was as cold as ice. Mo Lien had a smile on his lips as he held his wife's hand. He smiled and nodded politely at Master Dongfang. "Master, what brings you here today?" Master Dongfang hurriedly stood up with a smile and bowed. With a face full of courtesy, he said, "Just now, I mentioned this matter to young Master Fu and Madame Fu. It's about the descent of the heavenly Tao into the Holy Palace. Every year, the North, South, East and West regions of the Sacred Region will hold a general election for this reason. The top 200 will be chosen to enter the Holy Palace. I have 2 guaranteed spots, and I'm willing to give one to one of you. Master Dongfang smiled. I have a presumptuous request. I hope that after entering the Sacred Palace, young Master Mo and Madam Mo can bring me along. Arbor blinked. Chapter 5595. Master Dongfang was actually here to express his goodwill. Third Fu and Princess Wushuang couldn't help but cheer in their hearts. Master Dongfang Yu was really a scheming person. He actually wanted to use a guaranteed spot in exchange for Jojo's teammate. This was a business that would definitely be profitable without any losses. Everyone knew that being Xiao Qiao's teammate was definitely not a bad thing. Without waiting for Arbor to speak, Master Dongfang hurriedly said, "Everyone, please don't misunderstand. I entered the Sacred Palace to find a divine dagger called Crimson Dawn. I only want this one thing. If you encounter anything along the way, you can take it. I don't need it." Master Dongfang opened his fingers, and a dagger lay in his hand. He stroked it gently, and a faint light seemed to flow in his eyes. This divine weapon is called Pearl of Light. It was originally a pair with Crimson Dawn. Decades ago, I went to the Sacred Palace with Madam. Madam accidentally left Crimson Dawn in the palace. After that, this humble one searched every year for the sake of finding this crimson sunset. Princess Wushuang nodded. I see. Then, won't your wife accompany you? Master Dongfang's expression dimmed, and he sighed. My wife passed away many years ago. I want to find Crimson Dawn every year because I want to fulfill my wife's last wish. I'm sorry, Princess Wushuang hurriedly said. Master Dongfang shook his head and looked at Arbor. Madam Mo, I wonder if you can agree to my presumptuous request. Arbor wanted to refuse. After all, if they wanted to go to the Sacred Palace, they just needed to get into the top 200. With their strength, they could just fight. There was no need to accept Master Dongfang into their team just to get a guaranteed spot. In essence, Lady Xiao Qiao was quite repulsed by strangers. However, hubby secretly held her small hand, and Xiao Mu's words of refusal got stuck in her throat. Master Dongfang, it's hard to refuse such kindness. Then give this guaranteed spot to my son. When Dongfang Yuzhu heard Mo Lien agree, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Then, he said with some surprise, Young Master, the child is so young. Are you planning to bring him to the Sacred Palace? Sir Jojo nodded. Our family of 3 will go in and out together. Even if it's a mountain of blades, a sea of flames, 1,000 miles of glaciers, we will have to go together. Master Dongfang, she suddenly felt that she had nothing to say to Madame Mo Lien held back her laughter. Actually, what his wife meant was that when they went out to gain experience, they had to take the baby with them. They had to start training from a young age. Only when they were away from the adults would the baby have the ability to protect himself. But when his wife opened her mouth to speak, it was a little funny seeing that Master Dongfang didn't speak, Madame Mo didn't speak either. Dongfang Yuzhu was silent for less than 3 seconds. He smiled and cupped his hands towards Mo Lien, Young Master Mo, then it settled. Let's wait for everyone to pass the top 200 before heading to the Sacred Palace together. As for the time of the competition, it will be posted in front of the first tower of the Holy Region tomorrow. The first tower of the Holy Region was now the place with the most traffic in the Eastern region. If the notice was posted there, everyone would know about it very quickly. Third Young Master Fu sent Master Dongfang out. When he returned to the room, he heard Master Jojo complaining, "Why did you bring an outsider with you?" With Master Jojo's temper, he probably wanted to secretly release some members of the Phoenix clan in the Sacred Palace, but if there was an outsider in his team, it would be inconvenient to do anything. Chapter 5596. Mo Lien smiled and pinched her little hand. I don't believe that you are not curious. Sir Jojo tilted his head. What am I curious about? We have never been to the Sacred Palace before. Master Dongfang has joined us, so he can be considered to be our guide. Even if he has an ulterior motive, my Jojo, Are you really not curious about what Master Dongfang wants to do? Arbor blinked and nodded his little head reluctantly. You have a point. You have a point. Mo Lien could not help but laugh. If we put him in the team, he can't do anything. If we observe him secretly, we will definitely be able to find out what his motive is. Princess Wushuang opened her little mouth in surprise. You mean that Master Dongfang is not a good person? He joined us because he has evil intentions? And Wushuang almost jumped up with a look of disbelief. God, she had been fooled by Master Dongfang. She had even felt a little uneasy because she had mentioned his deceased wife and made him sad. Princess Wushuang said angrily, Is this person pretending? He wasn't looking for that dagger for his wife at all? That may not be so. Mo Lien shook his head with a smile. I saw that he spoke methodically, so he should be telling the truth with a hint of falsehood, and the falsehood with a hint of truth, leaving the other half unsaid. Yes, yes. Sir Jojo nodded his little head in agreement. Pearl Light and Crimson Cloud are a pair of divine weapons, so this matter should not be hidden. It should be true that he went to look for Crimson Cloud. But he must have other motives. Third young Master Fu walked up with a smile and held onto the furious Princess Wushuang. Forget it, let's not bother about this person. No matter what, when we enter the sacred palace, his motive will be revealed sooner or later. I am so angry. Princess Wushuang said angrily. I sympathized with him just now. Lady Qiao Qiao sighed and looked at Princess Wushuang faintly. You are all too naive. Without Lord Qiao Qiao watching over you, you would often be deceived. With these words, the little emperor turned around and walked upstairs. Everyone was speechless. Princess Wushuang did not know whether to laugh or cry as the corners of her mouth twitched. She looked at her eldest brother and said, Eldest brother, you should control sister-in-law. She looked so proud that she wanted to pounce on him and rub his head. Mo Lien shrugged helplessly. I can't do anything about it. It had always been his wife who took care of him. There was no reason for her to take care of her wife. And how could a daughter-in-law control her? She had to spoil her. Baby Mo's section break. Little Tuanzi, I also want to sign up for the preliminaries. Fight for a spot in the top 200. Lord Guangguang's short body was squeezed out of the crowd as he waved his small fist and said. Baby Mo leaned close to his ear and whispered. Sir Guangguang furrowed his brows. But the stoic mother said that there's an outsider in our group this time and we have to move together with him. I might not be able to come out from time to time. You've forgotten. You can transform into your original form. Baby Mo looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. Can I just hold on to you? That's right. Lord Guangguang's eyes lit up and he immediately jumped up and down. He hugged Baby Mo and said happily, Okay, then it's settled. Even if I don't participate, I can still leave an extra spot for those pitiful idiots. Chapter 5597. Sai, let's go to the sacred palace and get some materials so that we can exchange food and bamboo with the stoic lady later. These idiots in the sacred Saint Galaxy really made one's heart ache. Baby Mo's eyes brightened as he held Lord Guangguang's hand and said, Guangguang, you really are a kind-hearted child. Let's leave the opportunity to those uncles and aunties. Look at how enthusiastic they are. The two little ones were squeezed outside the crowd and couldn't see what was going on inside. They looked down at their short limbs and sighed sadly. Registration ends tonight. If you want to register, do it early. A hoarse voice shouted. Why are you two little rascals squeezed here? Do you want to register too? Lord Guangguang raised his head and saw a fierce-looking, muscular middle-aged man glaring at the two of them with his fierce eyes. Without waiting for Lord Guangguang to speak, that muscular man said, Where's your family's adult? Why did he let two little children come to watch the show? Look at your small bodies, what if they get crushed? Do you want to sit on Uncle's shoulder? Lord Guangguang was about to tactfully refuse when his body was lifted up by someone. That muscular man carried Guangguang with one hand and Baby Mo with the other, throwing the two of them on his shoulder. I'll bring you two out after reporting your numbers. You're still so young, don't register, okay? Uncle, We're not here to register. Baby Mo said. It's even more wrong to come to watch the show. There are so many people here, and you're still so young. Why are you here to join in the fun? Your family's adult is too much, not taking care of such little children. That muscular man kept nagging. Lord Guangguang was really afraid of him and hurriedly interrupted, our family's adult is just in front. That's even more ridiculous. The muscular man's face was filled with indignation. He knows it's crowded here, but he actually threw you two little ones here. In the muscular man's opinion, this adult was really unreliable. Baby Mo blinked. Uncle, it's your turn to register. As they spoke, the line slowly moved forward a few inches. That muscular man had already moved to the registration point at the speed of a turtle. He took the pen and wrote down his name, Zhang Feng. Registration fee is a yellow-grade artifact forging material. Zhang Feng was taken aback, and he hurriedly said, wasn't the registration fee 10,000 spirit coins in the past? Someone behind him shouted, didn't you see the notice? The registration fee this year has changed. What was the use of spirit coins? They couldn't even buy ingredients. Now, only refining materials can be used to buy the things you want. The man was stunned. But the expression of the hoarse voice at the registration point changed. Why is there another troublemaker? If you don't have the registration fee, then get lost. Don't stay here and cause trouble. That's right. Don't affect the registration of others. Yeah, big guy, hurry up. The burly man's face flushed red. He scratched his ears and cheeks but couldn't say anything. He just wanted to go to the sacred palace to find some refining materials so that he could go to the first floor of the sacred palace to buy some ingredients and other necessities. The materials he had on him were all used up when he was shopping a few days ago. Thinking about how the sacred palace would open in a few days, and how he only needed to pay 10,000 spirit coins, he was in a good mood. He didn't expect that the registration fee this time would be so fraudulent. Why aren't you getting lost? The hoarse voice at the registration point scolded impatiently. Baby Mo's phoenix eyes narrowed. Who doesn't have money? What are you yelling about? Chapter 5598. That's right. Lord Guangguang chimed in. We have money. Isn't it just a registration fee? What's the big fuss about? Lord Guangguang took out a piece of yellow rank refining material from his sleeve and slammed it on the table with a thump. He waved his small hand like a tycoon. Take it away. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, their expressions somewhat startled. That brawny man was very embarrassed and wanted to reach out to take the material on the table. He said, I really don't have the material you want. Forget it, I won't register this year. Who would have thought that the hoarse voice at the registration point had already put the material into the bag beside his hand and threw a bamboo tablet over while shouting, next. The brawny man looked down at the bamboo tablet on the table with a dazed expression. Hey, I already said I won't register. The hoarse voice shouted, what are you blabbering about? The registration fee has been paid and you've signed your name. Hurry up and scram to the next one to continue. Don't waste everyone's time. The brawny man was furious. Uncle, let's go. What's there to fight over with him? This person at the registration point was clearly robbing them. Baby Mo patted Zhang Feng, indicating for him to take the bamboo tablet and lead them out of the crowd. Zhang Feng was very embarrassed as he scratched his head and said, I'll strive to enter the top 200 and enter the sacred palace. I'll find a few good refining materials and return them to you. He was such a big person, yet the registration fee was paid by 2 children. It was truly shameful. If the children's parents found out about this, would they blame him for scamming 2 ignorant children? When Zhang Feng thought of this, he unconsciously became deeply worried. Baby Mo looked at him in confusion. Uncle, we've already registered and paid the fee. Why are you still frowning? Zhang Feng laughed bitterly. You 2 children took the initiative to pay the registration fee for me. If your parents find out, I'm afraid they'll come to settle the score with me and say that I cheated you. Lord Guangguang couldn't help but roll his eyes. Uncle, you're thinking too much. Stoic Face won't go through so much trouble with you for a mere yellow rank material. That's right. Baby Mo nodded vigorously. If Little Cauldron eats one less mouthful, there will be a pile of materials left. Zhang Feng didn't understand, so he didn't say anything. Baby Mo saw that he was suddenly in low spirits and raised his hand to pat his half-bald head. How about this, uncle? We'll come to watch the competition tomorrow, and you'll help us squeeze to the front. That would be a great help to us. Zhang Feng smiled and said, You two kids must have snuck out. If I come out to watch the competition every day, won't the adults at home be worried? Why are you in such a hurry? We're incognito ahem, we didn't sneak out. It was mother and father who let us come out to gain experience. Zhang Feng thought to himself, his parents are really big-hearted. Then he nodded and said, Then you must tell your family before you come out. Also, if father and mother don't allow you to come out, then don't come out. After all, you guys are still too young. Don't worry, uncle. Lady Guangguang held his small arm. Little Dumpling and I are actually very strong. Even if 8 or 10 of them come, they won't be able to defeat us. Zhang Feng, he thought to himself, looks like the parents of these two kids are definitely a pair of weirdos. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to raise these two awesome little fellows. Chapter 5599. Alright, if you can make it out, I'll see you here tomorrow. I'll bring you in to watch the competition. The two children jumped up and cheered. Okay. Uncle, don't worry. We'll be there on time tomorrow. On the other side, Stay Up Late was telling Mo Lien and Arbor about what had just happened. Little Master made a silly friend in less than 10 minutes. They even agreed to watch the competition together tomorrow, Stay Up Late said, speechless. He really had to hand it to this child. She was born with a wide range of social connections. Don't be fooled by her expressionless face. She could mingle with people wherever she went. I've already checked on that person. He's a loner in the holy region. He doesn't have any close friends or relatives. He's been a loner for many years. Master Jojo nodded slightly. Let him be. He meant that he was going to let the child go. Stay Up Late was amused. He cupped his hands and left. Arbor squeezed to her husband's side and gave him an ebony blue talisman. Here, use it. Mo Lien looked at him bitterly. We're just going to the competition tomorrow. Why do I have to use a transformation talisman? Xiao Mu's face was taut as she pinched him with 2 fingers. In order not to cause trouble. This face of yours is too good at attracting suitors. If you become uglier, no one will look at you like crazy during the competition. Mo Lien hooked his arm around his wife's waist and leaned close to ask with a grin, Xiao Xiao, you just don't want other people to notice how handsome your husband is. Arbor chuckled and slapped the transformation talisman on his head. Stop talking nonsense and transform. Mo Lien asked bitterly, why am I the only one using the transformation talisman? Don't worry. Everyone has a share. Jojo drank a bottle for himself. Then he took out dozens of transformation talismans and threw them into a small basket. When the crowd saw a short, chubby girl of 16 or 17 come down the stairs, they froze for a moment. Then they realized what was going on. Naturally, it was impossible for anyone to barge into their bamboo house. Therefore, this little chubby girl was undoubtedly their family's little clever Xiao Xiao. Yuan Shurchen couldn't help but hold her forehead and subconsciously take a step back. She glanced at the small basket on the girl's shoulder and hurriedly shook her head. No, I don't need that transformation talisman. This kind of shape-shifting talisman's directionality was too unclear. Who knew how ugly it would be if the talisman was slapped down? Moreover, it would be ugly for 10 days to half a month. This was simply too much of a scam. Jojo sighed. Holding the basket, he raised his chin and sighed to the sky. Guess, will I use violence to force you to use the talisman, or will I use even more violent means to force you to use it? Everyone was speechless. Duan Yu took out a talisman aggrievedly. Why must I become ugly to compete? A low-key life doesn't need to be explained. Arbor shook his head and put the basket on the table. He glanced at the crowd and roared, "Activate the talisman." A moment later, everyone cried out in surprise. Oh my God, I've become a burly man. Oh my God, my arm is deformed. Blarg, quickly take the mirror away. Take it away. Quickly take it away. I don't want to look at the mirror for the next few days. Arbor speechlessly glanced at the crowd who were singing their praises. Actually, how was he ugly? It was just that his face was a bit ordinary. Like Yuan Shurchen, who turned from a dashing and handsome man into an ordinary middle-aged burly man, he actually wasn't ugly. Chapter 5600. Arbor said expressionlessly, "If you're not satisfied with yourselves, you can use another talisman and transform again." Everyone waved their hands. No need. Let them off. What if they used it again and turned out to be less reliable than they were now? What should they do then? Arbor silently glanced at them. A bunch of idiots possessed by acting geniuses. There were actually people who cried because of their ugliness and hid in a corner to secretly wipe their tears. Truly hilarious. All right, get ready. Perform as usual tomorrow. She thought for a moment before instructing, but don't beat them to death on the spot. After all, they were only going to participate in the competition to get a spot in the top 200. There was no need to beat those bitter idiots in the holy region to death. Those people had already suffered enough these years. It wasn't easy. Arbor heaved a long sigh and turned to leave with his little paws behind his back. Jojo's attitude is a bit off. Feng Zhangfei couldn't resist exclaiming softly. His elder brother, Feng Changqing, irritably smacked him. Don't speak nonsense. If she usually went to a mystic realm or something like that, she would definitely be very excited and have long planned to take it down. But look at today. She doesn't seem to have any designs on this holy palace at all. Everyone silently nodded and gave Feng Zhangfei a thumbs up in their minds. He was very right. If it were in the past, Jojo would have long planned to refine the holy palace and store it in the star domain. But now, she was actually so modest. It truly exceeded everyone's expectations. Jojo is a person with a hard mouth but a soft heart. Duan Yu smiled faintly. Her heart must have softened when she saw the people in the holy region suffering so much. Mai Chen nodded and then covered his eyes. Don't smile, you're too ugly. Duan Yu's smile suddenly froze on his face. The bets are open, the bets are open. Place your bets, place your bets. The competition list is here. Everyone can place their bets and have a chance to win. Place your bets before the start of the competition. Stop placing bets before the start of the first match. Hurry up, hurry up. There's less than 30 minutes left. Time waits for no one. As he spoke, 17 to 18 hands squeezed out from the crowd and placed a piece of yellow-grade crafting material on the table. Rattling off my bets on who to win. Grandpa, I want to bet on my father, mother, and adoptive father winning. The old man who opened the gambling house looked up and saw a little boy who looked like he was carved from jade sitting on the arm of a strong man. He took out a piece of paper from his sleeve and handed it to the old man. So many people? After a series of actions, the old man collected more than 30 pieces of yellow-grade materials from Baby Mo. He then chuckled and gave him a list of bets with his fingerprint on it. It was obvious that this child was from a wealthy family. Otherwise, how could he take out so many materials in one go? Old Grandpa, don't tell me that you're going to take all of our bets and run away with the money? Baby Mo asked in a childish voice. Lord Guangguang glared at Old Man Kai and said, "If you dare to covet our little dumpling's money, I will kill you." Everyone, although they felt that these two imps were speaking in an old-fashioned manner, it was inexplicably hilarious. But some shrewd people also stared at the old man suspiciously. I think we should all take turns watching him here. Otherwise, he might really run away with the money like the child said. Chapter 5601. The old man felt guilty and couldn't help but grumble in his heart. What a bastard Xiao Tong. He really dared to say anything like a child's words to outsiders. However, this old man really did plan to do so in the first place. He wanted to get some money and run away first. Anyway, these people would definitely pay attention to the competition later. As the banker, he was guaranteed to win and not lose. However, this little brat had actually seen through his little scheme. He was truly one of the 7 fiends. Old Grandpa, you're frowning. Did I hit the nail on the head? Baby Mo looked at him suspiciously. Hearing the child's words, the people around felt that there was something wrong with the old man. Old man, you can't be thinking of swindling us, right? You've grown gutsy, right? Daring to scam so many of them, are you courting death? The old man who opened the bet felt guilty and said angrily, Child, don't talk nonsense. I'm here, aren't I? Why should I run? Where can I run to? Watch him. A few youngsters said worriedly. We'll take turns to watch over this person. That won't do. Baby Mo said innocently. Uncles, if the competition becomes exciting later, your attention will definitely be attracted. The child is right. Then what should we do? Some of the people who paid the money frowned and looked at each other. Look, this old grandpa's abacus is really good. At the start, when he asked us to bet on who would win or lose, he even signed a contract and stamped it, right? But if it's a draw, no one will lose and no one will win. The old grandpa will definitely take all. Everyone slapped their thighs. That's right. They didn't pay attention when they were buying just now. Now that the child said it, it was indeed so. Old man, now, the old grandpa can't even satisfy the banker's appetite. He intends to run away with the money. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses, the materials are all his. Everyone glared at him. The old man wanted to cry but had no tears. Now, I have a way to make the old grandpa stay here. Child, tell me, what is it? Yes. Tell me, uncle will do it for you. Yes, child. Auntie will back you up. Just say whatever you want. Baby Mo nodded and said, what if we use a cover and cover the old grandpa with a few layers to prevent him from running away? Then we can watch the competition in peace. Everyone slapped their thighs in agreement. That's right. Use that defensive spiritual artifact to protect him. That's right. Use the God-locking rope to lock him in the defensive barrier. Sit. Let's do that. Kids are really smart. The old man wanted to cry. He glared at Baby Mo angrily. Which freaking family did this kid come from? Where the hell were his parents? Why don't you hurry up and take this swindler away? Mo Bao glanced at the old man who was trapped within multiple layers of defensive barriers and had his legs bound by the spirit-locking chains. He looked at him sympathetically and said emotionally, Grandpa, don't panic. Just wait here. The competition will be over soon. If the old man could get out of this cage now, he wished he could smash this child into the melon ground with a hammer. If it weren't for this child, he wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. Uncle, let's squeeze in and watch the competition. Baby Mo was now very relieved. He patted Zhang Feng and said. Zhang Feng was stunned. Chapter 5602. Who would have thought that with just a few words, this brat would be able to trick everyone into teaching the old man a lesson and locking him up in the defensive barrier? This was really Zhang Feng did not know what to say. Could this brat be the reincarnation of a demon? How could he be so meticulous? What he thought of, those adults did not think of. This brat was too sharp. Uncle Zhang, let's go in further. Baby Mo and Lord Guangguang urged him. Uncle, when you participate in the competition later, we will cheer you on. Although Zhang Feng's face was ferocious, he was very shy. Hearing the two children say this, he actually felt embarrassed and said softly, Don't be so loud. Actually, I'm not that powerful. Baby Mo took out a small bottle from his sleeve and handed it to Zhang Feng. Uncle, when the time comes, don't worry and drink it when your holy power is exhausted. Zhang Feng hurriedly asked, This is recovery medicine? It's very expensive, right? You guys, Uncle, don't worry and drink it. This is a substandard product refined by Little Furball. The effect is slightly worse than the finished product. Drink the substandard product for a few days first. When you enter the finals, I'll give you the finished product. Zhang Feng was speechless. Zhang Feng wanted to ask the two children in detail if they knew how to refine pills. The drum noise in the arena instantly rose and covered his voice. Lord Guangguang said excitedly, They're fighting. Baby Mo's phoenix eyes were also wide open as he watched the fight on the stage with great interest. Both sides were moving around in a wide arena. In order to prevent the power from flying, the arena was set up with a very thick defense. Xiao Tuanzi and Lord Guangguang watched the fight without blinking. Their gazes were fixed on the two people who were exchanging blows. Seeing the excitement, the child could not help but comment, "This yellow-haired uncle's attack speed is so fast. Look at him flying up and kicking at him. His leg trembled 5 times in a row. Amazing." Everyone was speechless. Zhang Feng did not know whether to laugh or cry. That's because the yellow-haired brother used too much force when he stomped down just now. His leg is hurting now. Amazing! Lord Guangguang pointed at the arena and said, "Little dumpling, look at that red-eyed uncle. His punching speed isn't bad either. Look at the wind from his fists. He's so strong. I'm guessing that he'll definitely win." That might not be the case. The red-eyed uncle seems to be lacking in strength. I think he will be defeated within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. At first, everyone thought that the two children were just joking around. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he realized that this little rascal had guessed correctly. Following that, several consecutive times, after the child guessed correctly, everyone was speechless. "Little girl, look, Uncle's stay up late is going up. This is just the preliminary round. Don't be so agitated," Baby Mo said calmly. Zhang Feng felt someone patting him from behind. He turned around and saw a middle-aged woman curiously staring at the two children on his shoulders. "Little babies, are you two the young masters of the first tower of the Holy Region?" The name of the first tower of the Holy Region was like thunder to the ears. Even though everyone's attention was focused on the arena, they couldn't help but perk up their ears to listen. Lord Guangguang shook his head. "Of course not. How could we be related to the first tower of the Holy Region?" "Stop talking nonsense." The woman could not help but roll her eyes. "I've seen the two of you at the first tower of the Holy Region." Chapter 5603. Lord Guangguang glared. "Then what do you want?" "This Andy. You better think it over carefully. If you dare to kidnap our little dumpling, those cripples from before will be your lesson." The woman laughed awkwardly. "This child, what are you talking about?" She suddenly reacted and roared with an ugly expression, "What, auntie? Call me big sister." Everyone was instantly silent. Zhang Feng couldn't help but be speechless. This woman looked like Sun Yang, but who knew how old she actually was? A few hundred-years-old woman actually had the nerve to let the two children call her big sister. "Child, big sister wants to go to the first floor of the sanctuary to buy something. Seeing you two little bosses, I'm happy." Zhang Feng turned around and asked, You guys are really the little bosses of the first floor of the sanctuary?" Lord Guangguang hurriedly waved his small hand modestly. "No, we're not. We're not some boss. The first floor of the sanctuary is our stoic mother's. Buy things early tomorrow." Baby Mo curled his lips. Now, don't disturb him from watching the competition. He saw Uncle Ao Yi, Uncle Mata, and Uncle Duanmu in succession, winning the competition almost effortlessly. There wasn't any suspense in today's qualifier. The little dumpling counted with his fingers, and only then did he give the old grandpa more than 30 yellow-level materials. Logically, the old grandpa should compensate him close to 70 pieces. Later, when Uncle Zhang's competition is over, we'll go find the old grandpa to settle the accounts. Lord Guangguang nodded vigorously. "That's for sure. Look, stoic mother is going up. What's there to be excited about? Mother will definitely win." Baby Mo looked calm on the surface, but he was extremely excited on the inside. He watched as his chubby stoic mother hopped onto the stage with small, quick steps. The opponent rushed over 5 meters, 4 meters, and 3 meters, already right in front of his eyes. The chubby stoic mother suddenly flew over like a cannonball and fiercely punched that person's chin. Everyone heard a crack sound, and their hearts shrunk. That unlucky competitor was kicked out of the arena like a kite with a broken string and rolled into the crowd. Lord Guangguang exclaimed, "Stoic mother is as scary as always. A matter that could be solved with one fist would never be solved with 2 fists." Zhang Feng could not help but tremble. Just now, he had clearly seen the contorted expression of that fellow in the competition, as well as the teardrop at the corner of his eye when he was sent flying. One move was enough to kick him to the point where he couldn't find north. Everyone was shocked by his combat ability. "Uncle, can we choose our opponents in a small area for tomorrow's match?" "That's right. We'll finish this batch today. Tomorrow, we'll probably continue in groups of 10. Among these 10 people, each member would designate their opponent. Both sides must point at each other before the next round can begin." Zhang Feng regained his senses and hurriedly nodded. That was, if he didn't hit the target the first time, he would choose a new one. This way, it would prevent the strong from directly challenging the weak. If the weak didn't choose the strong one, they would have to make a second choice. Then hurry up and make a copy of this list. Don't choose my father, mother, and foster father. The kind-hearted baby Mo hurriedly slapped his wager list onto Uncle Zhang's chest with a conflicted expression. "If you're really that unlucky, you'd better." Chapter 5604. Admit defeat immediately and jump off the stage yourself. Lord Guangguang hurriedly said. "Uncle Zhang, remember this." Yes, remember this." Zhang Feng nodded his head with a solemn expression and began to memorize the names on the list. He felt that the two children's reminder was definitely true. Just look at the match just now. The chubby woman that the child called the stoic lady moved extremely quickly and dislocated her opponent's jaw in one move. Forget it. The competition was secondary. Life was so precious that it only came once. "Uncle, the fact that you can listen to Xiao Tuanzi's advice means that you're very smart," Lord Guangguang praised with a smile. Zhang Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As they spoke, it was Zhang Feng's turn to go on stage. He needed to go down the stage to prepare. Thus, he hurriedly whispered, "Don't wander around. Wait here for Uncle." "Hurry up and go, Uncle," Baby Mo urged. "Don't worry, we won't wander around." They were all good children. How could they cause trouble everywhere? They wouldn't. Zhang Feng reminded him again and squeezed down the stage worriedly. Baby Mo jumped onto Lord Guangguang's back. The two brats were stacked together like a human pyramid. Lord Guangguang stood in the air, and Baby Mo was stacked on his back. Lord Guangguang shook his bald head. "What if Uncle can't beat the other contestant later? Should we secretly help him?" Baby Mo shook his head with a serious expression. "No. Even if we help Uncle and let him barely enter the top 200, Uncle probably won't be happy. I think Uncle is an honest person. If he wants to enter the sacred palace, he must follow the rules. Use his own strength to win. Then I hope Uncle's luck will be better. The guy on the other side is a weakling." Xiao Tuanzi laughed, thinking to himself, how could he be a weakling? In this competition to select the top 200 in the Holy Region, the participants were basically all Transcendent Realm experts. It was rare for there to be a few Transcendent Realm contestants, and they would be eliminated very quickly. However, Zhang Feng did not meet a weak opponent as Guangguang had expected. His opponent's realm was not much different from his own. The two of them fought very strenuously. After fighting for an incense stick's worth of time, the crowd saw that there were no new tricks up their sleeves, and all of them felt a little tired. A few people whispered under the stage, "It will be over when the incense sticks burn to the end. Looks like this match is going to end in a draw again." Lord Guangguang held Xiao Tuanzi's hand nervously. He wanted to secretly help Uncle Zhang several times, but was stopped by Xiao Tuanzi. "Uncle, why are you so silly that you don't want to drink the medicine?" Right now, both of them were exhausted, and they had taken pills just now. But how could those pills that could restore Saint energy be compared to the potion that Xiao Tuanzi had made? Lord Guangguang wished he could scold Zhang Feng for being a fool. Even if Xiao Tuanzi's concoction was substandard, it was still 1,000 times better than those pills on the market that could restore Saint energy. He drank it. Guangguang's eyes lit up as he focused his gaze. Sure enough, he saw Zhang Feng suddenly take out the bottle of medicinal liquid given by Xiao Tuanzi and pour it into his mouth. Suddenly, as if he had been injected with chicken blood, he burned and revived. Baby Mo heaved a slight sigh of relief and looked up, only to see the chubby stoic woman floating over to them expressionlessly. "The competition is over, let's go home." Chapter 5605. Mo Bao Bao blinked and naturally obediently scrammed back with his mother. For this reason he specially instructed Uncle Ao Yi to stay behind and report their movements to Uncle Zhang. This was to prevent this uncle from crying when he returned and couldn't find him. As his mother floated, Mo Bao Bao followed behind her head and floated along with her. Sir Guangguang said sweetly, "Stoic mother, that move of yours just now was seriously too cool. You broke that old uncle's jaw with one punch." Mo Lien was a bit speechless and hastily said, "Your mother didn't do it on purpose. She used too much force just now and was very vexed about it. She went to deliver medicine to the other party." Ever since the little stoic advanced to a saint bone, the strength of her punch truly could penetrate the divine armor defense of a transcendence realm cultivator. There were still times when mother was embarrassed. The two brats blinked their eyes and looked at each other. "Mother, I made a good friend of an uncle these 2 days." "Mother knows everything," the little stoic said expressionlessly. "What did you do today?" "Mother, I didn't do anything." When the little dumpling said this, he suddenly slapped his thigh and hastily turned to fly back. "Mother, I have to go back first." When his mother called him just now, he followed her in a daze and hadn't collected his gambling debt yet. Arbor was speechless and carried his son back. "Don't go. That person ran long ago. Why would he wait for you to go back?" Mo Lien said in amusement. "You think he can't run just because you're a bit smart?" The stoic mother continued to poke at her son's heart. "You have to know he's several hundred years older than you. His life experiences are different from yours. You considered it, but he already considered it long ago." Mo Bao Bao sighed. "I was actually cheated of more than 30 pieces of materials." Sir Guangguang also exclaimed, "That's too much of a loss." "So what did you learn from this matter?" "You have to be more cautious in the future and watch him personally." Mo Lien grumpily patted Mo Bao Bao. "Think again." Mo Bao Bao sneaked a glance at the stoic mother's expression and hastily said, "I can't gamble. I'm still young, so I can't gamble." Then he quickly added, "You can't gamble even if it's big." 15 minutes later. The old man who opened the gambling house was put in a gunny sack and beaten up violently, and all the materials that he had swindled were looted. "Where did you go wrong?" the person asked faintly. The old man hugged his head and curled up on the ground. Trembling, he cried out, "No, I shouldn't have lied to you, young master. I shouldn't have cheated him of his private money." Jojo gave the order, and dozens of fists smashed down, beating the old man violently. "Don't hit me, don't hit me. This old man admits his mistake, this old man admits his mistake." The old man cried bitterly. Suddenly, he had an epiphany and howled, "No, I shouldn't have lured the young master to gamble. This old man knows his mistake. Oh. Heroes, please be merciful. Stop." Jojo waved his hand. "Tomorrow, I want you to," she muttered a few words to the old man in a low voice, and the old man's eyes instantly widened. Can you fool him like this?" The old man said, "This old man isn't bragging, but your son is extraordinarily intelligent. Normal trickery can't fool him at all." "Enough nonsense. Just do as I say." I know. This old man will definitely do as you say." Chapter 5606. The next day, Baby Mo and Lord Guangguang were still immersed in the bad news of, "We were cheated." They even looked listless in class. Sigh. Baby Mo felt sorry for himself and touched his chubby little face. "I didn't expect that I would be so stupid this time. I actually misjudged and got cheated by that old grandpa. That old grandpa is really quite shameless. He even cheated us children of our things. If we bump into him on the road next time, we definitely won't let him off." A few small heads came over from the side and asked curiously, "Classmate Mo Shao, have you been deceived?" This was really a weird encounter. Mo Shao was such a smart child, how could he be cheated by others? No one would believe it even if they told others. Little Mo nodded and said listlessly, "Sigh, how can one not wet their shoes if they walk by the river often?" He was used to cheating people, so he felt that he could not accept the fact that he was cheated once in a while. A few little heads came over in front of baby Emo and said, "Emo Xiao, don't be sad. What were you cheated of?" "More than 30 pieces of yellow grade materials." "What?" "More than 30 pieces of yellow grade materials." The little children sighed. While they sympathized, they could not help but feel that this classmate of theirs was really rich. "Then what should we do? Will your parents help you get it back?" Lord Guangguang said indignantly, "They won't help us. They even mock us and say that our intelligence is not enough to make up for it with money." Baby Emo sighed sorrowfully and stretched out a pair of chubby little arms to support his little chin. "You're so pitiful, Emo Xiao." A few little girls surrounded him and said softly, "How about this? After school ends, we'll accompany you to walk around. Who knows, we might meet that swindler old grandpa." "Everyone, thank you for your kind intentions, but you can't help me." "We can help," everyone said at once. "We can help you beat him up." "Yes, beat him up." Baby Emo turned his face and looked at his classmates pitifully with his watery eyes. "Will you guys really help me?" How could the group of children refuse such a delicate little face? They immediately nodded in unison without any moral integrity. Lord Guangguang jumped down from his seat. "Let's gather outside the courtyard after school. I have a lot of sleeping pills with me. I'll feed the old man when I see him later. Why don't we just strip him and search his body? Let's tie him to the tree and make him spit out all the yellow rank materials he swallowed." "All right." Baby Emo gave the final word and nodded with a smile. "Students, you are all so talented. That's why it's said that there's strength in numbers. Look at how many ideas we can come up with when everyone is gathered together." The group of little radish heads gathered at the entrance of the courtyard after school. Chapter 5607. Yesterday's competition lasted until the afternoon. The old man did not even have time to queue up. He definitely won't be able to buy it today. Baby Emo expressed his agreement and nodded his head. "According to my reliable analysis, the old grandpa might be queuing up at the first floor of the sanctuary now. Tomorrow morning he will exchange all the materials he cheated for food or other things." A young girl expressed her doubts. "How can the old grandpa be so stupid? Yesterday he didn't just cheat you of your materials, he cheated many others too. Everyone has the same idea as you, to come to the first floor of the sanctuary to stop him. How can he escape? You don't understand." Lord Guangguang shook his head. "I'm guessing he knows how to disguise himself." At this point, they could see from afar that there was a long queue of 100 people at the entrance of the first floor of the sanctuary. Lord Guangguang waved his hand and a group of 6- and 7-year-old children all ran forward to check the people in the queue. The crowd that was queuing up at the entrance of the first floor of the sanctuary was shocked by the group of children. A young lady in a plain green dress could not help but laugh and ask, "Children, what are you doing here?" "Children, go away. If you want to queue up, go to the back. Don't think that you can cut the queue for no reason just because you are a child." The children did not care about what they said and continued to do their own thing. After checking the queue, they ran to Baby Mo's side and shook their heads at him. "I don't see the wretched old grandpa. I don't see one here either. I don't even see the wretched uncle. Looks like the old grandpa didn't disguise himself." Baby Emo touched his chin and turned his head. Suddenly he waved his hand. "Everyone follow me." Everyone hurriedly followed him and ran forward. The crowd in the queue looked at each other in dismay. This group of children came quickly and ran quickly. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared completely. Baby Emo led his group of schoolmates and ran for a few dozen meters before stopping a man wearing a bamboo hat with his head lowered and waist bent. This person was originally unremarkable, but he just happened to appear not far from the first floor of the sanctuary. The moment he saw Baby Emo, he turned and ran away with a guilty conscience. No one would believe that he was not a ghost. Baby Emo took a step forward and swatted the bamboo hat off his head. It revealed a face that was completely different from the face of the old man from yesterday. "That's him." Baby Emo clenched his fist and waved it. "Go." The children's blood was boiling. Under the little fellow's command, they quickly rushed up, their small arms and legs landing on the man's body. "So this is what you should look like. Mo Bao Bao was furious. What old man? It turned out that the person who traded with him yesterday wasn't an old man at all. Looking at his muscular body, he was just pretending. He was on the verge of tears. He agreed to cooperate with young Master Mo and Madame Mo to act, but he didn't agree to be beaten up. These children swarmed up and hit him with their small arms and legs. Although it didn't hurt or itch, it was really a loss of dignity. However, he could not get angry and push them away. Baby Mo took the chance to throw out a spirit-locking rope, which coiled around his arm with a whoosh. No, 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 children, children. Calm down, calm down. This person dragged the spirit-locking rope and took a few steps back. He said to Baby Mo in tears, "Tell them to stop. Tell them to stop hitting me. I'm already miserable enough. Stop hitting me, stop hitting me." Chapter 5608. What are you miserable about? You big scoundrel. Baby Mo shouted crisply. Big liar. Hurry up and return my more than 30 pieces of yellow-grade materials. Speak, what's your name? Speak quickly. Don't lie. Wuji dog leftovers. The group of children choked in unison, as if they didn't know what to say. On the other hand, Sir Guangguang's loud voice roared angrily, I'm asking for your name. And my name is G-Dog Leftovers. Sir Guangguang. The two of them looked at Dog Leftovers with incomparable sympathy. They shook their heads and sighed, thinking at the same time, I originally thought that the stoic mother was the world's #1 name lousy, but I didn't expect that she was still slightly better than Dog Leftovers' parents. Speak, why did you lie? Dog Leftovers wept noisily. If it weren't for Sir Guangguang grabbing the back of his collar, he would probably be able to talk about his birth until now, acting pitiful as he spoke. The eyes of the inexperienced little girls couldn't help but redden. Master Guangguang punched him in the head. I'm really very unlucky, Dog Leftovers said while crying. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. The man wiped his tears and used his other hand that wasn't bound by the god-locking rope to gently pull off a gray headscarf on his head. Instantly, a head of short, withered hair was revealed. The group of children sucked in a breath of cold air. They instantly felt that the big scoundrel in front of them was indeed a bit miserable. Half of his head without the headscarf was barren, and the other half was also full of bumps and hollows. Only a few small tufts of hair remained on his withered head, standing firm in the wind. Why are you like this? Baby Mo jumped in fright from his miserable appearance. Only then did she realize that this person's face seemed to be very dark. It was as if he had been ruthlessly struck by lightning. Dog Leftovers pounced over with great acting. He suddenly threw himself onto the ground and hugged Baby Mo's short legs, pounding the ground and wailing loudly. I'm miserable, little young master. I'm truly miserable. Didn't he just want to make his life better, so he thought of setting up a gambling house to cheat people? And the result? He didn't even have enough time to warm up the pile of materials that he had scammed yesterday. Halfway through, he was put in a gunny sack and beaten up violently. Even the assets that he had swindled yesterday were all plundered. You look quite pitiful, Baby Mo said to him sympathetically. It wasn't just miserable. It was incomparably miserable. Goshing's eyes were red as he hugged Baby Mo and cried loudly. The group of children at the side couldn't help but feel depressed. They all said at once, Uncle, don't cry. Uncle, I've stopped crying since I was 6. Uncle, you're a little weak. Go Leftover looked at these childish faces and listened to a string of childish words. He really couldn't bring himself to cry. The emotions that had been brewing up almost disappeared in an instant. He gritted his teeth in anger and hurriedly pulled on Baby Mo's little robe. After brewing for a while, he wailed, Child, you don't know how miserable your uncle is. That's why I say that bad things really do come with retribution. One mustn't take even half a step wrong. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets. Uncle! Baby Mo looked at him suspiciously. You saw my mother yesterday. Go Leftovers trembled and couldn't help but cry in his heart. He had already told that Madame Mo that her son was talented and smart and wasn't easy to deceive. But Madame Mo insisted that he follow the plan. Chapter 5609. He said that he had to give his son a scare. Sob sob sob. If he wanted to trick his son, could he not involve a small fry like him? He knew that he would not be able to fool this smart little brat. Indeed, in less than 3 minutes, he was about to be exposed. Go Leftover tried his best to keep his expression unchanged and said as fast as he could, "Child, look at Uncle. I knew that liars would not have a good ending. The reason why the hair on my head is black and withered is because after I cheated yesterday, the heavenly Tao punished me and I was struck by lightning 18 times. It was not easy to keep my life. Uncle, it's too late for regrets." "Baby Mo," Lord Guangguang said, "Liar. There was no thunder at all yesterday." The group of little radishes also nodded, expressing their doubts. They weren't deaf. How could they not know about the lightning punishment from the heavens? Go Leftover hugged Baby Mo's leg and cried. "It's true. Believe me. Then, the lightning punishment will hit me alone, and I will be covered in a cover. Then, sob sob sob, sob sob sob." He cried miserably. "It was especially cruel and struck me alone. Baby Mo, no matter how he looked at it, why did he feel that this person in front of him was crying and screaming fake? Even his experience felt fake? You're lying to me." Little Mo Shao stared at this person sharply. No. Every word I said came from the bottom of my heart. It's all true. Then where are my materials? Yes, quickly return the 30 over materials to Mo Shao. Go Leftover cried and wailed. "Little ancestors, after the lightning strike yesterday, all the materials in my inner world were sob sob sob. They were all struck by the heavenly Tao." Baby Mo's eyebrows twitched. Lord Guangguang opened his mouth slightly. "It can't be. The heavenly Tao struck your inner world? This is not true." Go Leftover did not dare to hide and answered honestly, It just struck all the savings that I had accumulated for a long time. All of them were struck away." Baby Mo immediately understood and patted Go Leftover's face comfortingly. "It's been hard on you. You must have been robbed by my mother. Everyone, Go Leftover, Madam Mo, come out. I already said that your son is not easy to fool. Why did you make me suffer so much? You're so pitiful." Lord Guangguang expressed his sympathy. No matter how he looked at it, why did he feel that the person in front of him was crying and screaming fake? Even his experience felt fake? You're lying to me. Mo Shao stared sharply at this person. No. Every word I said came from the bottom of my heart. It's all true. What about my materials? That's right, hurry up and return Mo Zhao's 30+ materials. Gosheng cried and wailed, "Dear little ancestors, after yesterday's lightning strike, all of the materials in my inner world were wuwo, they were all struck by the heavenly Tao." Baby Mo's eyebrows twitched. Lord Guangguang's mouth opened slightly. "No way, the heavenly Tao destroyed your inner world? This is not the case." Gosheng didn't dare to hide anything and answered honestly, that is, that all of the savings this one had accumulated for a long time, all of it gone. Baby Mo immediately understood and patted Gosheng's face comfortingly. "It's been hard on you. You must have been robbed by my mother. Everyone, Gosheng, Madam Mo, come out. I already said that your son is not easy to fool. Why did you make me suffer so much? You're so pitiful." Lord Guangguang expressed his sympathy. Chapter 5610. The group of little kids watched as Gosheng left pitifully, and their little faces involuntarily hung a few traces of sighs. This person looked quite pitiful, his back was bleak and desolate, looking somewhat miserable. Sai the children heaved a long sigh and silently glanced at each other. "Then let's all return home," Baby Mo suggested. The children nodded one after another, saying their goodbyes, and each returned home to find their mothers. Little classmate Mo Shao sighed softly, "Mother is too bad." Yeah, stoic mother is really bad. She clearly already helped us and brought back the materials, but she didn't tell us. She even let that uncle act out a farce and pretend to be struck by the heavenly law. What does stoic mother want to do? Lord Guangguang said angrily. Mother just wants us to know. Swindlers don't have a good ending. Swindlers will be beaten by Grandpa Heavenly Law. Lord Guangguang's eyes widened in astonishment, and he exclaimed exaggeratedly, "Stoic Mother is too ridiculous. Does she think we're 3-year-old children? How could this kind of thing deceive us?" Baby Mo nodded with a dazed expression. "We're not 3-year-old children anymore. This kind of thing, just use your brain and you'll know." The two chatted as they walked. When they returned to the bamboo house, they even deliberately looked at each other and helped each other adjust their collars. "You look all right. Jimin, it doesn't look like you hit Gosheng." "I didn't hit him." Baby Mo tightened the belt around his waist. "I just stepped on him twice." "Who told that guy to lie on the ground without any moral integrity and grab his robe?" The two children stepped into the bamboo garden's courtyard at the same time, and they called out, "We're back." The one who warmly welcomed them was little friend Fu Yun. This guy had just woken up, and he hurriedly ran towards Baby Mo with his short legs. Big brother, did you run into that swindler grandpa today? Did you ask for all your things back?" Baby Mo expressionlessly held his small hand. "You might not believe me when I say this. We ran into that person on the way home after school today." "Little Yun, you didn't see that person's miserable appearance. If you saw it, you would definitely feel that he was very miserable." Little Fu Yun followed his big brother and asked, "You beat him up, didn't you?" "Big brother is the most powerful. That old grandpa is definitely not your match." "Did the old man cry after that?" Lord Guangguang and Baby Mo nodded in unison. "Of course he cried, but he's not an old grandpa, he's a young man." "Oh no, he changed his appearance to deceive us." "Wah, big brother, you guys made a big guy cry. He's a swindler, so of course we have to beat him," Lord Guangguang said with conviction. When they looked up, they saw Arbor walking over expressionlessly. He glanced at them and asked, "Why are you back so late?" "Mother." Chapter 56:11. Nothing much, it's just that the swindler was struck by lightning a bit miserably. We comforted him. Arbor coughed lightly. "Tell me what you think." "You absolutely can't cheat in the future." Sir Guangguang nodded fiercely. Right, cheating doesn't have a good ending. Not only will you be struck by lightning, everything in your inner world will also be destroyed. Arbor nodded. "Then how did you comfort that swindler?" "We beat him up." "Arbor, is this your way of comforting people?" "Mommy." Baby Mo's little head burrowed into her embrace. Little Furball loves Mommy the most. Mommy treats little Furball the best. "What do you mean?" "Mommy, don't be embarrassed. I already know everything. You robbed that uncle yesterday." The stoic mother looked at her son expressionlessly. Baby Mo blinked. "I already beat the uncle until he told me the truth." Arbor, this son seemed to be a bit difficult to handle. Husband. She immediately thought of her son's father. He was the most suitable person to discipline her son. Emolien was currently boiling soup in the room. When he heard his wife's roar, he hurriedly ran out with a soup ladle. "Wife, what's the matter?" Arbor walked up and stuffed his son into his hands. "Discipline your son." He didn't want to continue talking to him. Just looking at him was annoying. "What did you do?" Emolien held his son with one hand and lowered her head to glance at him. Baby Mo said aggrievedly, "I exposed some of Mommy's little tricks," and she flew into a rage out of humiliation. "What did you expose?" "Mommy robbed that swindler from yesterday and even had the swindler trick me. She said it was the one who was struck by lightning." "Daddy, I already beat the uncle until he told me the truth. Mommy can't lie to me." Baby Mo puffed up his cheeks. She clearly already robbed him clean, but she still insisted that it was the heavenly law's punishment and that lightning struck the uncle's inner world. "Does Mommy want to steal little Furball's yellow-grade materials?" Emolien slapped his butt. "Those materials aren't yours. It's all your mom's fault." Baby Mo looked at his father pitifully. He was really a pitiful little guy who was not loved by his parents. Emolien picked him up and walked a few steps before throwing him to Venerable Peach Blossom, who had just walked in. He then returned to his room to continue cooking soup to coax his wife. The little doll lay in Ma Shurchen's arms and said pitifully, "Uncle Peach Blossom, I'm penniless." Revered Peach Blossom acted as if he was hugging a hot potato. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, "You are the richest child in the world. Don't cry about being poor in front of your uncle. I don't have money to give you." Baby Mo raises his head in melancholy and gives a long sigh. "My assets have all been confiscated by mother. In the future, I'm destined to be a person without a single cent of wealth." Chapter 56:12. Didn't I say we couldn't fool that imp? The husband and wife were hiding in the room and chatting while eating a pot of fish soup. That guy wasn't boasting at all yesterday. He said he couldn't last more than 3 minutes in his son's hands. Mo Lien picked up a piece of fish for his wife and giggled. I reckon he wouldn't even last a minute before he exposed himself. Arbor blew on the scalding fish and sent it into his mouth with a sigh. He's already so hard to fool at such a young age. When he grows up, he won't be able to fool anyone. That's true. Bam! Venerable Peach Blossom Divinity came over after smelling the fragrance and kicked open the door. He carried Baby Mo in one hand and grabbed Lord Guangguang in the other as he boldly appeared at the door and hollered, "Great, you too. You actually hid in the room and ate fish soup without calling us. Mommy is bad, but Daddy is worse." Baby Mo wailed indignantly. Lord Guangguang waved his 2 small hands and also shouted, "Stoic mother and scoundrel father hid in the room and ate without calling us." Arbor calmly set down his chopsticks and waved his hand. "We're just tasting. If it's good, we'll cook it for you guys later." 1 adult and 2 children quickly ran over and took their bowls and chopsticks. He didn't stand on ceremony and directly scooped out the soup and picked up the fish. The fish was tender and delicious, and the bones melted in his mouth as if they were crispy. 3 pairs of eyes, 1 adult and 2 children, abruptly lit up. They were practically as bright as the stars. "There's more in the pot. You guys can slow down." Arbor exasperatedly glanced at the 3 of them. The big one and the 2 small ones ignored her, minding their own business as they ate. "Wow, stoic mother, this fish is even more delicious than the colorful divine fish. What is it?" "Don't know, I randomly fished it out from the sea of orchids." In less than a quarter of an hour, the whole pot of fish was eaten clean. In the end, not even a drop of soup was left. Arbor was a bit speechless and asked them, "Do you still want to eat?" The 3 heads nodded in unison. "Wait a bit. Wait until Duan Yu and the rest come out tonight." "Mother!" Baby Mo ran to his mother's side and climbed onto her, rubbing his head against her chest. "The fish you cooked is so delicious. Little Dumpling likes it very much." His father couldn't help but glare at the back of his head. This fellow clearly knew that his father had worked hard to make this fish soup, yet he turned around and flattered his mother. He was really a child that made people speechless. Arbor couldn't help but chuckle. He raised his hand to rub his son's head, but warned him, "You're not allowed to gamble tomorrow, okay?" Baby Mo nodded profusely, replying in a childish voice, "After seeing a ghost, wouldn't you be afraid of the dark?" "Mother, Xiao Tuanzi has been fooled once, and will never be fooled a second time." Xiao Mu broke into laughter and poked her son's small head with her finger. "You're the clever one." The next day, early in the morning, the competition venue was already filled with people. Everyone had come early in the morning to reserve seats. It couldn't be helped. There were obviously more people watching the competition today than yesterday. After all, those idlers who were eliminated in the first round yesterday all had time to come and watch the subsequent matches today. 2 young men stood on the stage. Their robes were washed until they were white. It looked like they hadn't changed into new clothes for a long time. Baby Mo sat on Zhang Feng's shoulder, the burly man who resembled an iron tower. He shook his legs and exclaimed, "Wow. The 2 big brothers in this competition are too poor." Chapter 56:13. When the uncle on the left turned his head, Baby Mo could see an inconspicuous patch on the back of his neck. The people in the sacred sanctuary are all quite poor. Lord Guangguang expressed his opinion. Then he suddenly realized that the people around him were staring at him as if they wanted to eat him up. "Why are you staring at Lord Guangguang? Is what Lord Guangguang said not the truth?" The truth was that the people in the sacred sanctuary were all ridiculously poor. The sacred palace that was about to descend was probably because the heavenly axiom saw that the people in the sacred sanctuary were living too pitifully, so it gave them some benefits and supplements every other year. If not for the heavenly axiom daddy giving them some help from time to time, most of the people in the sacred sanctuary would have starved to death. The two people on the stage had already started fighting. Today's match was obviously more interesting than yesterday's. The two people on the stage exchanged punches, and as they fought, Baby Mo could not take his eyes off them. His eyes were watching, but his little brain was working non-stop. Standing in the uncle's position on the left, how should he neutralize the opponent's moves and counterattack? After analyzing the moves, Baby Mo stood in the uncle's position on the right, and analyzed the opponent's moves again. After he finished analyzing, he thought to himself, "The uncle on the left is weak and unable to continue. I'm afraid he's going to lose." In the blink of an eye, the winner was decided. It was as Baby Mo had predicted. The little fellow was secretly pleased. When the second pair of opponents went on stage, he started to focus on watching, analyzing the moves of the two people. Then he said, "Wah, in less than 2 minutes, the one on the left is going to lose." As expected, not long after, the person whom Baby Mo had predicted to lose was stabbed in the thigh by his opponent and fell to the ground. After this happened a few times, the few people around him could not help but look at this little child in a new light. It was really amazing, wasn't it? This little child could not be so lucky every time to predict which one of the opponents would lose, right? A middle-aged woman beside him couldn't help but ask with a smile, "Kid, then guess who won and who lost between the two on the arena?" Baby Mo was also staring intently at the two people who had suddenly jumped onto the stage. This time, there was no need to analyze the moves. Baby Mo smiled and said, "Of course I know. The one on the left will win." Wasn't that obvious? That unlucky guy on the right ran into his foster father, so it was impossible for him not to lose. As expected, as soon as he finished speaking, the other party was sent flying out at a speed comparable to that of light. Victory and defeat were decided in a single exchange. This time, the middle-aged woman was truly shocked, and she turned to stare at Baby Mo with a bewildered expression. "Child, you're actually able to discern the opponent's cultivation level? What realm did he see?" He was just taking advantage of the situation. Baby Mo pursed his lips and ignored the middle-aged woman. However, the other party kept sizing him up, as if he had developed a little interest in him. Seeing that he didn't speak, the middle-aged woman smiled kindly and asked, "Little friend, are you interested in becoming my disciple?" Master Guangguang couldn't help but turn to look at her. "You want to recommend yourself? To be little Furball's master?" The woman's face turned slightly red. That little rascal's gaze seemed to be saying, "You're overestimating yourself." Indeed, with her strength, it seemed that she really wasn't qualified. However, she inexplicably wanted to try. Chapter 56:14. This little brat looked very talented. If it was possible, taking him in as a disciple would definitely not be a loss. With that in mind, the middle-aged woman put on a friendlier face. "Child, what's your name? Where do you live? Why don't I talk to your parents personally?" Lord Guangguang waved his hand. "Our little dumpling can make decisions for himself." The middle-aged woman couldn't help but smile. "All right then, child, are you willing to take me as your master and become my disciple?" Baby Mo shook his head repeatedly. "I'm a disciple of the Holy Water Sect." Holy Water Sect? That should be some sect from the lower realm. The woman chuckled. "Silly child, that's a sect from the lower realm, right? Don't worry, you've already ascended to the saint level with your parents. If nothing unexpected happens, I won't be able to go back in this lifetime. Even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for your parents. If you take me as your master, I guarantee that you will be able to do whatever you want in the saint realm." "Thank you, Auntie." Baby Mo said seriously, "I don't really want to walk sideways like a crab. I just want to walk normally." Lord Guangguang chuckled. The woman looked at him speechlessly. "Child, I'm just making an analogy." Baby Mo patted his chest. "Once a holy water sect disciple for a day, a holy water sect disciple for a lifetime. Sir Guangguang lowered his voice and whispered into his ear, "Little dumpling, the holy water sect won't accept you at all. They don't accept male disciples." Fusitsu. Baby Emo rolled his eyes. "You have to accept it even if you don't want to. I was already a holy water sect disciple when I was in my mother's womb. Who dares not to accept me?" Sir Guangguang thought about it and felt that it made sense, so he nodded and said, "That's true. The holy water sect simply can't reject the little dumpling." When the little dumpling was in the stoic mother's stomach, she was already a disciple of the holy water sect, so what the little dumpling said seemed to be very reasonable. The middle-aged woman frowned slightly. "How about this? Let me talk to your parents." Since this child was so stubborn, it was better to look for his parents. Perhaps they would be able to persuade him. Sir Guangguang looked at the woman with a strange expression. Baby Mo sighed, not wanting to bother with her anymore. He turned to look at the pair of figures fighting in the arena. After so many battles, the atmosphere of the competition was very intense. Below the ring, the crowd of onlookers cheered and shouted, sometimes dancing and sometimes clapping their hands. Baby Mo reached out and patted Zhang Feng. "Uncle, let's go over there and choose our opponents." The next round was Uncle Zhang's turn. Zhang Feng squeezed his way to the edge of the arena and saw that the 10 members of his group had already gathered. The judge held a small booklet and looked back and forth a few times. "Let's begin." He repeated the designation 3 times before the team members were all arranged. Zhang Feng's opponent was an old man, who glanced over with a worried expression. "Uncle's luck is not bad." Baby Mo patted Zhang Feng's shoulder. "You will definitely win today." The little guy's mouth was really sharp. The following match between Zhang Feng and the old man was without suspense. Seeing this, the middle-aged woman became even more determined to take Baby Mo as her disciple. When Arbor walked over expressionlessly, he saw a middle-aged woman chatting up her son with a smile. But the 2 children didn't seem to want to talk to her. "Mother!" When Baby Mo saw his mother, he immediately floated over and landed in Arbor's arms. Chapter 56:15. Arbor was still under the effect of the transformation talisman. That middle-aged woman couldn't help but be inwardly astonished when she saw the child's ordinary appearance and figure a bit indescribable. How could such a mediocre woman give birth to such an exquisite and outstanding child? "Daddy!" The middle-aged woman looked up and saw a thin man walking over. His appearance was so ordinary that it wouldn't make a splash if he was thrown into the water. She couldn't help but be even more puzzled. The child's parents only had this kind of appearance. That was the karmic karma accumulated over several lifetimes for them to obtain such an intelligent, smart, beautiful, and adorable child. Arbor glanced at the middle-aged woman. "What business do you have?" The middle-aged woman deliberately put on a smile and tried to worm her way into being friends with Arbor. "Madam, I intend to take your son as my disciple. How about we find a secluded place to sit down and have a good chat?" Arbor was taken aback before waving his hand and saying, "No need. Mother, I already told her that I have a master and that I'm a disciple of the Holy Water Sect. But she just had to pull me along and talk nonsense." Baby Mo looked at his mother in distress and said, "Sigh, it's also very vexing to have such a high aptitude. Even when I'm walking on the streets, I'll casually be pulled in as a disciple by others." The surrounding crowd couldn't help but be speechless when they heard this. This little brat was too arrogant and comical. How could he praise himself to this extent who knew that his mother would actually nod along with this child and say in full approval, "Back then, your grandmaster only took a fancy to mother because her aptitude was exceptionally outstanding. Sigh, I bitterly chased mother through 18 streets and all the way to the water boundary before I received her. Everyone, the mother and son were the same. Blowing their own trumpet was a bit too much." The middle-aged woman smiled very awkwardly and could only place her hopes on that father who looked more normal. "You're the child's father, right?" "I think." The father didn't wait for her to finish speaking and raised his hand to stop her from continuing to nag. "Don't say any more. My son won't acknowledge you as his master." The middle-aged woman still wanted to persuade him. However, that father expressionlessly said, My son already acknowledged the heavenly law as his master when he was born. Everyone, why can't you just blink when you're talking big? The middle-aged woman's face instantly turned red. This couple was really funny. The child's future would be ruined if he followed them. Even if he looked down on her as a child's master, there was no need for him to bring up the heavenly Tao. You don't believe me? Mo Lien continued to look at her son expressionlessly. Son, try shouting. Mo Bao blinked and jumped into his mother's arms. He shouted happily, Grandpa Heavenly Tao. If I call you, do you dare to throw a grenade at me? Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of rolling thunder exploded above Mo Lien's head. Mo Lien, that idiot, had long sensed it. He first raised the defensive thunder barrier and expressionlessly glanced at the mother and son. Arbor wanted to laugh. Her husband was really pitiful. For so many years, the heavenly Tao did not like the mother and son, so it struck her husband. Sometimes, it would even throw a grenade at you in the middle of the night. Her husband had been trained for a long time and was already fearless. Everyone was dumbstruck as they stared dumbfoundedly at that strange family of three. Did you see that? Mo Bao said complacently. My master responded to me. The middle-aged woman's face was deathly pale as she nodded repeatedly. This time, she didn't dare to say anything more. She hurriedly withdrew from the crowd and ran away. Chapter 56:16. What else could she do if she didn't run? This child actually acknowledged the heavenly Tao as his master. This was really like seeing a ghost. If she didn't run, what if the heavenly Tao went crazy and struck a lightning bolt on her head? What could she do then? She could only cry as she went to meet her death. Not everyone could withstand a lightning bolt without batting an eyelid. From the looks of it now, that family of three was undoubtedly a weirdo. Watching the middle-aged woman run away like a wisp of smoke, baby Mo looked at Arbor with a puzzled expression. Mother, why did that auntie run away? Didn't she want to take this baby as her disciple? Baby Mo said unhappily. If a lightning bolt can scare her away, then if she encounters a strong enemy in the future, she'll definitely abandon little Furball and run away by herself first. Arbor nodded in full agreement, reaching out to stroke his son's head. Son, you're absolutely right. We can't have this kind of master. Baby Mo vigorously nodded his little head. Jojo turned to look at her husband, lifting her hand to shove her son over. Let's go home. Baby Mo climbed onto his father, reaching out to hug his father's neck as he asked, Daddy, did Grandpa Heavenly Tao's lightning bolt hurt you just now? Mo Lien was expressionless. I'll be thanking the heavens and earth when you stop causing trouble for your father. Little Furball pursed his little mouth. How is this causing trouble? Without little Furball, Daddy and Mommy would have a lot less fun. His father chuckled. I have to thank you, Baby Mo nodded in all seriousness. You're welcome, Daddy. You're my father, it's only right for me to be filial to you. Mo Lien. Lord Jojo suddenly burst into laughter. Father and son hurriedly turned to look at her. Your mother's smiling. Daddy, hurry, take out the image talisman array. My mother is really the most beautiful person in the world. She's so beautiful when she smiles, I want to preserve it. Mo Lien irritably slapped her son's butt. Scram. That was her wife. She still wanted to preserve it with the image talisman array. Dream on. Not letting anyone see it. The little dumpling angrily twisted his little body. Mother. Her mother turned a deaf ear to her words and ran off without saying a word. Father, mother ran away, quickly chase after her. The family of three chased each other out of the crowd. Suddenly, someone whispered, Why does this kid look so familiar? He looks like the child of the couple in the bamboo garden. It can't be. The couple in the bamboo garden could be said to be one of the most beautiful people in the sacred region. Most importantly, they had a group of eye-catching handsome men and beautiful women with them. All of them were outstanding. Who didn't know about this? Oh, that's right. Why haven't those youngsters from the bamboo garden come to participate in the competition? Someone immediately chuckled and interrupted that person's guess. Is there a need to ask? They don't even care about the materials in the sacred palace. Think about it, what kind of place is the bamboo garden? Now, everyone in the sanctuary knew about this. The bamboo garden is a place where resources are concentrated. The people in the bamboo garden are still selling materials every day. That's right, why would they need to go to the sacred palace and go through so many hardships and dangers to obtain such a small amount of materials? Everyone was talking at once, and they all felt that their analysis was very reasonable. Letting out a long sigh, she looked up at the misty sky with a sorrowful expression. If they had the resources in hand, they naturally wouldn't need to go to the sacred palace and risk their lives. Chapter 56:17. The next morning, Xiao Tuanzi and Lord Guangguang were dressed neatly at the entrance of the bamboo garden. They looked at the group of uncles and aunties who came out of their rooms and looked at each other. The two children were dressed in pure white robes and had furry hats on their heads. Both of them had bags on their chests and backs. They looked like they were fleeing for their lives. Reverend Peach Blossom couldn't help but twitch his mouth. He coughed lightly and asked, "Children, where are you going?" "I heard that after today's competition, we will be heading to the sacred palace. We have prepared in advance and can set off at any time." They were going to take an adventure as they wished. Lord Jojo came down from the bamboo house expressionlessly. With a wave of his hand, a series of golden talismans immediately concealed the bamboo building. During the time they were away, to prevent the bamboo house from being used by some shady people, they needed some special defensive measures. For example, they could hide the bamboo house and sprinkle fire poison around it. They could also set up layers of defensive barriers on top of the bamboo house. It was set up perfectly. Lord Jojo kept Wushuang and her son back into the star region. He then walked to the children who were carrying bags and said expressionlessly, "You are the only recommended candidate. You can't bring Guangguang with you." The two children hugged each other on the spot. Lord Guangguang grabbed baby Mo and shook his head like a rattledrum. He shouted, "No, no, I want to live and die with Xiao Tuanzi. In the fire, in the fire, in the water, in the water." Everyone couldn't help but twitch their mouths. Looking at this little expression that was so good at singing and acting, it really made one speechless. "You should use your original body to follow Xiao Tuanzi." Lord Jojo ignored him and said, "You know that if you go against the heavens, you will be struck by lightning again. Anyway, Daddy is used to it." Everyone, Mo Lien glowered at Sir Guangguang, who had a loose tongue. "Say that again?" "Xiao Tuanzi. Woa." Lord Guangguang hurriedly hugged baby Mo. Baby Mo hugged him back and shouted, "When we reach the entrance of the sacred palace, let Guangguang change back." The couple shook their heads at the same time. That stingy heavenly Tao finally put down a holy palace for people to go and retrieve some things. If you cheat at the entrance, you will definitely be kicked out. Baby Mo looked pitifully at Lord Guangguang. The latter was also looking at him eagerly. Mo Lien was speechless. It was just making the light congealing mirror return to its original form. It wasn't like it was leaving his son. Did these two little actors really have to put on such a show of life and death so early in the morning? Hurry up! Mo Lien shouted impatiently. After the light congealing mirror finished crying, it turned into a small handheld mirror and landed in Baby Mo's hand. The two bags that he was originally carrying also fell at Baby Mo's feet. Inhumane. Mo Bao Bao wiped his eyes miserably and bent down to put the two big bags back on his body. As a result, this strange child hung 4 bundles from front to back, almost drowning himself. Lord Jojo silently twitched his mouth. "You can keep them back into your inner world first." "Mother, don't think of tricking me. Didn't you seal Xiao Tuanzi's inner world every time we went out for training?" "Lord Jojo, this time, it's different from the previous training. Mother won't seal your inner world." Chapter 56:18. The little girl's bright phoenix eyes widened as she looked at her mother suspiciously. She asked hesitantly, "Really?" His mother nodded. "Mother never lies to you." Little Furball thought for a while and kept all 3 bags in his inner world, leaving only 1 bag on his arm. Everyone, Little Furball carried the bag on his back and floated out with his mother. Mother, Little Furball hasn't had breakfast yet. Don't you have steamed buns in your bag? Lord Jojo said in annoyance. That won't do. That's for after the training. Little Furball quickly floated to his mother's side. Mother. Arbor was speechless. He took out 2 roasted sweet potatoes and gave one to his son. Back then, I thought your Aunt Xinshin was stingy enough. I didn't expect that there would be another mountain higher than you. You're even stingier than her. Mo Bao Bao blinked and said modestly, it's all thanks to Mother's good teaching. Jojo, Mo Lien couldn't resist chortling. This little fellow had choked his mother to the point that she couldn't even speak. The family of 3 rushed to the arena. Little Furball mixed into the crowd and found Zhang Feng. Zhang Feng was also looking around. Seeing him come over, Zhang Feng was overjoyed. He smiled and picked him up. Little Furball, where's your little friend? Mo Bao Bao said pitifully, sigh, the world is unpredictable. He hung the mirror in his hand on his waist. His entire person looked desolate as he raised his hand to touch the mirror. Zhang Feng was shocked. Could it be that your little friend is dead? Pay! Mo Bao Bao glared at him. Uncle, how can you curse Lord Guangguang? Zhang Feng quickly apologized. Sorry, sir. He saw this little rascal's worried face and said that the world was unpredictable. Naturally, he thought of something bad. Mo Bao Bao pouted. He can't accompany me for a while. It's fine, it's fine. Uncle Zhang will play with you when he's free. Uncle, if you make it to the top 200 today, then you'll follow the team to the sacred palace. The little guy snorted and deliberately whispered, and you said you'll play with me. Zhang Feng patted his head and said apologetically, that's right. How about this, when Uncle comes out of the sacred palace, I'll bring you a gift. Baby Mo blinked. All right, then I'll forgive you for not keeping your promise. Zhang Feng gave a simple and honest smile and nodded repeatedly. Then he hurriedly went below the arena to choose his opponent. Today's matches had to be finished before noon, so each match was set to last for half an incense stick's time. There were more than 300 people participating in the competition, and they needed to eliminate more than 100 people before the competition could end. The setting was that within the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, no matter what method was used to defeat the opponent, the victory would be obtained. Therefore, the match was filled with the smell of gunpowder from the beginning. Everyone gave it their all, no longer holding back, throwing out all their trump cards. It had to be said that Zhang Feng's luck was pretty good. The person he was fighting against had been defeated by Mo Lien in one move and had even been injured. After being eliminated and then fighting with Zhang Feng naturally had the upper hand. The 200 matches from start to finish were hastily announced to end not long after noon. Master Dongfang walked up with a smile, holding a list of winners, and announced a string of names. Finally, he said, there are 2 guaranteed spots. One is young Master Mo Xiaoma, and the other is this one. Chapter 56:19. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, not understanding what was going on. Master Dongfang Yu had recommended them to the sacred palace, so they naturally knew about it. Because it was like this every year, they didn't feel surprised. But who was that young Master Mo Xiao? He was nowhere to be seen during the competition. Now that he had been recommended, why was he still nowhere to be seen? A middle-aged man with a fat head, big ears, and a big belly stepped forward, shaking his head and asking, I wonder who this young Master Mo Xiao is. Master Dongfang Yu smiled, his gaze falling on the crowd. Everyone, there's no need to be curious. The most important thing now is for everyone to see if you have prepared enough medicine and defensive equipment. According to the usual practice, we will be teleported to the entrance of the sacred palace in about an hour. Everyone should prepare as soon as possible. What he said was true, but in fact, everyone didn't have much to prepare. What needed to be prepared had already been prepared. Who would still be busy preparing supplies at this crucial time? Their things were basically stuffed in their inner worlds or space rings. 200 people were now eagerly waiting for the arrival of the sacred palace. Zhang Feng was just about to put baby Mo down from his shoulder when he saw the little guy pointing to the front. Uncle, Go over there. Find my father and mother. Zhang Feng responded and walked forward a few steps, then suddenly stopped. At this time, there were only 200 people on the field. Zhang Feng saw a group of more than 30 young men and women gathered together. The little dumpling wailed, "Nyangqin, Nyangqin." A woman in snow-white clothes with an icy appearance turned her head and waved at the child. Zhang Feng was a little confused, muttering to himself, "That's your mother? Why is she different from the last time I saw her?" Baby Mo giggled. "Last time, my father and mother used a transformation talisman. It was to avoid trouble during the competition. Now that the effect of the talisman had passed, she naturally returned to her original appearance." Zhang Feng thought that was true. He had always heard people say that the group of people from the bamboo garden were all extremely outstanding. Now that he saw it, they really lived up to their reputation. Baby Mo floated down from Zhang Feng's shoulder and stretched out a small hand to pick up one of Zhang Feng's fingers. "Uncle, let's go." Zhang Feng followed over. He was still a little reserved, hurriedly greeting Mo Lien, Arbor and the rest. Everyone nodded in agreement. Mo Lien said with a smile, "My son has disturbed your excellency for several days. I'm really sorry." Zhang Feng hurriedly waved his hand, touched the back of his head and said, "No, no, no. The little dumpling is very obedient. It's not troublesome at all." Baby Mo nodded repeatedly to express his agreement. At the side, a fat man with a big belly who was secretly sizing them up suddenly slapped his thigh and exclaimed, "Oh, I know, this child is the young Master Mo Shao that Master Dongfang you mentioned. Wasn't the male master of the bamboo garden surnamed Mo? There was no doubt about it. Damn, this group of people really didn't even let go of the sacred palace." There were more than 30 people in a row. That meant that they had all signed up for the competition. He had even secretly changed into a human form so that no one could recognize him. Now that the competition was over, he had finally revealed his true appearance. All of them were so sinister. They were aiming for the resources of the sacred palace. Someone couldn't help but murmur, "Who said that the people of the bamboo garden didn't care about the resources of the sacred palace?" Did the person who said this feel like he was being slapped in the face? This was the biggest joke in the world. Chapter 56:20. Everyone was speechless as they stared at Arbor's group in bewilderment. Fuck, these people really wanted to head to the Holy Palace and compete with them for resources and the legendary sacred beast egg. Someone couldn't help but muster the courage to say, "Aren't you guys still selling resources?" They had enough resources, yet they still wanted to compete with these pitiful people in the palace. It didn't make sense. Moreover, their group of 30-plus people was simply an oddity. Even the saint-level practitioners like them had formed several teams after the competition. However, they usually formed teams of 5 or 7 people. A team of 10 people was considered a large team. But did they have any shame at all for having 30-plus people in a team? Arbor glanced at everyone's expressions and knew what they were thinking. He couldn't be bothered to care what they were thinking. In any case, they had already obtained the right to enter the Holy Palace, so why bother with these mediocre people? They've already sold so many resources, yet they're still greedy enough to want to go in and compete with us, another person muttered quietly. Arbor abruptly turned his head and stared at him coldly. Say that again?" Feng Changqing and the others couldn't resist rubbing their foreheads. This was a sign that the little stoic was about to fly into a rage. It was dead silent all around, and no one spoke again. They were probably scared stiff by the little stoic's icy provocation. After a long time, no one uttered a word. Like a peacemaker, Master Dongfang hastily stepped forward to smooth things over. Everyone is equal before the Holy Palace. Resources are abundant, and everyone relies on their own abilities. No need to panic. After we enter the palace, we'll act separately. We naturally won't delay everyone's search for resources. Why didn't everyone make a move? They just didn't feel confident. A young man in his early 20s weakly raised his hand. I have a question. Madam Mo, is your team still accepting people? Everyone, you fucking spineless thing. You saw that there were so many people in the team and that their prospects were obvious, so you wanted to follow them and take advantage of them. But what a shameless dog. Fortunately, that Madame Mo expressionlessly rejected him with a stoic face. Otherwise they also planned to join Madame Mo's team. In any case, taking in one was the same as taking in 2, 3, 10, or even 8. What right did they have to let 3 to 5 of them fight fiercely? Only a fool would refuse when they had the support of a large group. Sigh, what a pity. Everyone lamented in their hearts and glanced at the stoic face with self-reproach. The little stoic was baffled. It was as if these people were all sick, looking at her with a bitter expression. She didn't have any candy for them. Mother, when are we leaving? Baby Mo floated behind his mother's head and asked excitedly. I'm so happy. I'm going to go on an adventure with my parents. Would the sacred palace be fun? Would there be any ferocious beasts inside? If there is, I wonder if I can release Hun Dun and swallow it in one gulp. Recently, Hun Dun kept saying that he did not have enough to eat. This child was really pitiful. Baby Mo planned to let the little pitiful chaos out after entering the palace so that it could take a breather and let out some fresh air. Don't let that little cutie die from holding it in for so long. If his uncles knew what Baby Mo was planning, they would definitely wish for nothing more than to go up and beat him up. What a super ferocious beast. Cutie my ass. Quickly look, it's the sacred palace, someone shouted excitedly. Chapter 56:21. Hearing the sound, everyone looked up, only to see a palace standing tall in the vast white fog, like a feather, slowly sliding down. Until the entire palace landed steadily on the ground. Click, 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 click sounds of gears turning, followed by a series of rumbling noises from within the palace walls in the distance. That palace was now in front of everyone, the palace door was closed, and the side doors were all tightly shut. An impatient brother ran forward a few steps, reaching out to push open the front door of the palace. However, his body stumbled forward a step, and his hand touched the air. Everyone roared with laughter. Master Dongfang smiled good-naturedly, shaking his head. Brother, don't be impatient. The palace you see in front of you is not real. We still have to wait for the heavenly axiom to teleport us to the real palace. Only when we meet up with the people from the north, west, and south can we enter the sacred palace together. Everyone smiled good-naturedly, and that man awkwardly raised his hand to touch his head. This was the first time he had won and entered the top 200, obtaining the qualification to train in the sacred palace, so he was a little impatient. After all, he had been in this broken sacred domain for almost 10 years, and there was always a vast expanse of white fog in front of him. Now that he could finally change the environment, how could he not be impatient? Brother Wang, don't be impatient. One of his companions in the team said with a smile, according to the usual practice, after we are teleported to the sacred palace, we can still have a sumptuous meal to use. This could also be considered a gift from the heavenly axiom once a year in the sacred domain, this damned place where birds don't shit and chickens don't lay eggs. The heavenly axiom's annual feast could be considered a sumptuous reward for all the victors. Someone on the side added with a smile, the heavenly axiom's feast is really good. Master Dongfang raised his hand and pressed down. Everyone, please be patient. Everyone's heart surged, and everyone stared at the sacred palace's phantom in front of them, rubbing their fists and palms, their blood and vigor high. As long as they thought of being able to enter this sacred palace immediately and then obtain some good things for themselves, everyone's heart was filled with a layer of fire, and they were extremely happy. Arbor glanced at Master Dongfang beside him expressionlessly. How much longer do we have to wait? Master Dongfang smiled and said, they should be here soon. After he finished speaking, a teleportation light fell on everyone, and everyone's spirits were lifted. Not long after, the group of over 200 people disappeared from where they stood. A moment later, they landed on a meadow filled with fragrant grass. Except for the people in Arbor, everyone could not help but cheer. There were also people who were so excited that they rolled on the grass and touched the grass with their hands. Their eyes were filled with tears. Arbor, Baby Mo blinked his eyes. Do they have to be so agitated? Mo Lien coughed softly. You have to understand how others feel. Many people haven't seen grass for decades. Baby Mo thought that she was right. Every day, they could enjoy the blue sky, white clouds, green grass, or the sun, the beach, and the ocean. These people's real names were bleak. Many of them had not left the sacred region for hundreds of years, let alone decades. Master Dongfang pointed to the side. Those are the people from the northern region. Master Dongfang and Master Dongfang were on good terms. When they saw them, they smiled and went forward to greet them. Brother Dongfang and the others have arrived. Young Master Mo, Madam Mo, hello. Chapter 56-22. Everyone greeted him and exchanged a few pleasantries. The Master of the North had always been on good terms with the Master of the East. At this moment, he brought a group of people to stand beside them. At this moment, there were still many practitioners rolling around on the grass. Baby Mo lay on his father's shoulder. His paralyzed little face was filled with a serious expression. Daddy, I feel that these people are sad and pitiful. Why do you say that? They're already so old, yet they're still so retarded. Baby Mo sighed and said, This sacred region is really not a place that people can stay in. Daddy, let's play for a while or go back. Mo Lien was amused and angry at the same time. She stretched out her finger and poked her son's forehead. Do you think that this is a place where you can come and go as you please? Let's greet Grandpa Heavenly Dao and ask him to let us out. Mo Lien really wanted to ask her son, what made you think that Heavenly Dao would be so easy to talk to? Just because you said you wanted to leave, would he let you go? This place is really too desolate. Baby Mo shook his head and said, Daddy, those people are so happy even when they see the grass. If they enter the palace and see the lake or the ocean, wouldn't they go crazy? Mo Lien rubbed her son's head in amusement. In a blink of an eye, the people from the west and south also arrived one after another. On the grass field in front of the palace, there were now 808 people standing. They were jostling and pushing each other. It was a little noisy. The Master of the South was an incomparably enchanting woman. Half of her slender legs were bare, and her figure swayed gracefully. When she started to move, it was really frightening. The gazes of many men gathered on her body. When her small waist swayed, it really made people feel incomparably excited. The Master of the West smiled and went over. He raised his large palm and hugged the woman's waist. Nanin, long time no see. I really missed you. The Master of the South giggled and twisted her body, knocking away the Master of the West's perverted hand. Get lost. You rotten old man, don't think that I don't know that you've taken in 3 more beautiful concubines. The Western Master licked his lips and smiled. In the blink of an eye, he saw the Eastern Master and the Northern Master standing not too far away. He chuckled and walked over. He said with ill intentions, Brothers, we meet again. Hey, the 2 brothers have selected quite a few able-bodied men this time. The Western Master's gaze swept across everyone's faces. When it landed on Arbor's face, his eyes suddenly lit up. Miss, you don't look familiar. Are you new here? The Western Master took a few steps forward with a smile on his face, and one of his hands brushed Arbor's face maliciously. Little Mo Bao Bao, who was in his father's arms, immediately exploded. She pulled her 2 small hands together and shouted angrily, Guang Guang, whip him. A small mirror suddenly jumped out from his waist and rushed forward without any explanation. Tut, tut. It smashed towards the Western Master's wretched face. Hey, hey! The Master of the West didn't expect that a mirror would suddenly jump out and beat him up. He hurriedly stretched out his hands to block, but that demon mirror's speed was too fast. Without any explanation, it gave him that old face of his and hit him twice. The Master of the West simply couldn't stop its attack. Weakling, you still want to take liberties with my mother. I think you're courting death. The little kid roared fiercely with an expressionless face. For a moment, the entire place was silent. Chapter 56-23. Holy shit, This seems a little explosive. They hadn't even entered the sacred palace yet, and the people from the western and eastern regions were already fighting. The one who attacked was a child who hadn't even grown hair yet. Looking at the brat's arrogance, Master Dongfang just watched with a smile. He didn't say anything to stop him. Master Jojo glared at her husband. Her son had been led astray by her husband. He was like a moving volcano. Her husband was carrying this child. If he wanted to stop him, he would have done so long ago. It was all her husband's idea. He let his son stand up for him while he watched the show from the side. Mo Lien had an innocent look on her face. Master Dongfang put down his hands and hurriedly took out a bronze mirror from his inner world to look at himself. Then he roared angrily, "Come out, come out! Which villain dares to trick your father?" Holy shit, his face was hit twice by a stupid mirror. Now, his left cheek was swollen. What was even more hateful was that a small portion of his originally well-trimmed beard had been snapped off by the mirror. It was simply heartbreaking for him. Baby Mo kicked his 2 short legs. "Daddy, this person spoke rudely to you. I'll kill him for you." Mo Lien's mouth twitched. She hurriedly reached out to hold down her funny son. This child probably took after his mother. He looked like a warmonger. Everything about him was like his mother. Of course, he only cursed in his heart. He didn't dare to say it out loud. If he said it out loud, he would definitely be beaten by his wife, Yi Xiaoyi. The two of them shot out from behind the crowd. Yi kicked Master Dongfang's lower body fiercely. Xiao Ye's fist was infused with holy power, aiming for his cheekbone. Master Dongfang was shocked. He hurriedly turned around to dodge. He waved his sleeves, trying to deflect the attack. However, these two people were extremely powerful. His casual sweep was simply too late to sweep away the 2 forces of energy that were pouncing towards him. The 2 forces of holy power rushed to his legs. Master Dongfang's knees immediately went soft. He was about to kneel on the ground. The Western master was shocked. He hurriedly raised his right hand and slammed it on the ground. He did a somersault in the air, but when his feet landed on the ground, they went limp and he almost fell to his knees. Ao Yi and Xiao Yi giggled. Their expressions turned solemn as they attacked the Western master again. The 3 of them immediately began a chaotic battle, flying back and forth on the large lawn, swords and sabers clashing. Everyone was dazzled, and they couldn't help but be speechless in their hearts. The Southern master giggled and couldn't help but tremble. I say, old Western master, why are you getting more and more backward? Why haven't you made any progress after a year of seclusion? Instead, you've regressed. From the looks of it, you can't even stabilize the early stage of the immortal venerable realm. Some people couldn't help whispering when they heard this. It can't be, right? My cultivation level will regress? Hey, look at you little brats. Some of you are entering the sacred palace for the first time, so you don't understand. If you don't understand, I'll tell you. The Southern master let out a string of bell-like laughter. When the Western master was fighting with late night, his face instantly darkened. His entire face could not hide his ugly expression. Let me tell you, this sacred palace was really fun. After you enter, there's also the luck ranking. The higher the ranking, the luckier the person is. Last year, your Western master's points were -500, and he was ranked last. He was the unlucky one who ranked last in the sacred palace's trial. Chapter 56-24. Do you know the reason? Some people covered their mouths and snickered, while others looked at the Southern master in confusion, their faces begging for an explanation. Your Western master, it's because he accidentally ate some immortal herb while exploring the sacred palace. Oh my, it was bad then. The Southern master chuckled and covered his face with a handkerchief. Arbor felt that if the Southern master could walk out of the sacred palace, he might be able to become a storyteller in a tea house. She was actually quite good at telling stories. The Western master's face had long turned black. He glared at her fiercely and scolded, "Shut up." The Southern master pursed his lips and raised his handkerchief to soothe his chest. "Why are you so fierce? I just want to remind these little friends not to think that the sacred palace is a fun place. It's full of danger. If you're not careful and don't get any benefits, you might end up like Western Master. You accidentally ate an immortal herb and your cultivation regressed. Is it true? Someone secretly asked the others. Seeing that a few seniors who entered the sacred palace every year nodded in unison, they became vigilant. The sacred palace was so deceitful. It was possible that they wouldn't get any benefits after entering, but would end up in big trouble. The Western Master's face turned green and black. Seeing the curious gazes around him, he was so angry that he laughed. What? You all want to challenge this old man? Even if my cultivation regresses to the early stage of the immortal supremacy realm, you're still no match for me. Everyone shook their heads in unison. Seeing that the Western Master was angry, they hurriedly took a few steps back. At this moment, the sacred palace's door creaked. Everyone turned their heads in unison and saw the towering pitch-black doors of the sacred palace moving by themselves despite the lack of wind. They were slowly being pushed inwards by a heavy force. Everyone's heart tightened and they hurriedly moved forward. The people in the front row were the first to rush over. But before they could step on the steps, a few of them were sent flying by the force. The Eastern Master smiled and said, "Everyone, don't be anxious. Look at the road. You can't pass by the side. You can only take the path in the middle." When everyone heard Master Dongfang's explanation, they all looked up. Sure enough, from the first level to the far end of the stairs, there was a pine and cypress stone path that could only allow one person to pass. Everyone has a chance to go in, but you can't be impatient. Is that so? Everyone hurry up and line up. Everyone rushed to the front of the line, but the people from the eastern region had already taken the initiative and lined up at the bottom of the steps. Young Master Mo, Madam Mo, please go ahead. Master Dongfang smiled politely. Mo Lien held the baby and nodded at his wife. Jojo did not decline. He lifted his small steps and walked towards the path in the middle. However, as soon as she stepped onto the first step, she felt a wave of pressure rushing towards her. Her entire body was pushed back by an invisible hand on her shoulder. Lady Jojo raised her other leg and stood firmly on the first step of the stairs. She frowned. Mo Lien and Master Dongfang also noticed that the situation was a little strange. Especially Master Dongfang. It was not his first time participating in the Sacred Palace's training. Naturally, he knew that the passage was not that big of a resistance. Chapter 56-25. But now, just by looking at Madame Mo's first step, the resistance she faced was quite strong. If it were anyone else, they would have been swept away by this tyrannical obstructive force. Only Madame Mo could still stand steadily on the first level at this moment, her eyes sweeping coldly in front of her. What? Everyone looked at each other and followed behind the group of people from the East region, anxiously craning their necks to look up. Arbor turned to look at Master Dongfang. You guys are like this in the past too? It took half a day to take a step? It wasn't that she couldn't walk up after half a day, but it was fine if everyone was like this. But obviously, looking at Master Dongfang's expression, it didn't seem so. Master Dongfang hurriedly shook his head. Madam Mo, there wasn't such a strong resistance when we walked through this passage in the past. Arbor sneered. That would mean that the heavenly Tao was targeting Lord Xiao Xiao. Master Dongfang watched the commotion from the side and chuckled delicately. "Io, little girl, how about this? You come down first and let sister pass first?" Master Dongfang, whose face was bruised and swollen, hurriedly waved his sleeves and put on a fake smile. The muscles on his face trembled slightly. "If you can't, then come down. Don't waste everyone's time. I think it's better to let me open the path first." Arbor ignored everyone's chatter and took another step forward. She said expressionlessly, "I'll count to 3. If you don't let Jojo pass, then we'll fight to the death. No one can think about passing." The 4 masters behind her looked at each other, not understanding who this Madame Mo was talking to. What? Mo Lien hugged her son, the corners of her mouth twitching. Baby Mo shook the light congealing mirror in his hand, blinked, and suddenly shouted, 2, 3. Mo Lien looked at the sky speechlessly. Arbor turned her hand and condensed a wave of water spirit power. A waterspout suddenly rushed into the sky, instantly scaring the group behind her. A faint shadow suddenly appeared on the stone path of pine and cypress. A short old man stomped his feet on the stairs, exasperatedly shouting, "You can't go in. You can't not enter. You just can't enter." What a joke. If this little ancestor were to enter his sacred palace, would his sacred palace, which had been perfectly preserved for thousands of years, still exist? What was this guy's usual tactic? It was to refine the mystic realm. His sacred palace was still thinking of continuing to operate for a long time, okay? Grandpa Heavenly Tao, you're still so petty. Baby Mo pursed his lips and said, "If you won't let Mother enter, then let little Furball enter first." Scram, scram, scram. Tian Dao roared furiously in Baby Mo's direction. How could he allow this little ancestor to enter? She was a little thing that was 10,000 times more evil than his parents. The Heavenly Tao then raised his hand and threw a thunderclap over. The expressionless Mo Lien silently raised a frying pan. Boom! Everyone saw the purple-red lightning bolt explode on top of the frying pan, producing a sizzling sound. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. The little old man formed by the Heavenly Tao jumped up and down the stairs. This scene petrified all the onlookers. Duan Yu couldn't resist silently turning his face away. Venerable Peach Blossom quickly used his sleeve to cover his face, pretending not to recognize the Mo family's father and son. Everyone finally understood what was going on. It turned out that Heavenly Tao disdained that family of 3 in the bamboo garden. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.